Hey Dennis, how are you?
Do you want it? Stephen, we forgot a squirrel. We were supposed to bring a squirrel.
Yeah. Dennis, you listen to Joey's microphone. Do you hear a crackle on it, or is it just me?
I do a
Yeah.
little bit.
Can you hear a crackle?
Yeah, there's a time.
Okay, I'll
Yeah, you
turn
got a
down the
bit of a
gains
crackle.
a little bit. What about now? How's that sound? How's that sound? Hey guys.
Still
Hello.
a little
Hi.
bit, a
What
little
about
bit,
now?
little bit there. It may be, I don't know, maybe your hand on the mic, but it's definitely crackling.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn it. Okay.
Yeah, it's static. It's electronic static, so it sounds like it's a cable or
Yeah.
something
It's
on your
probably
hand.
static. It's probably okay. Okay. What about now? How about now? Hey guys, this is Joey.
Still there, Jay.
Still there. Fuck. All right. One sec. I'll just turn this off.
Yeah, it's just like not a lot, but just a little.
What about now? How about now?
That's horrible.
What about now? Horrible.
That's horrible now. That's all lots of background noise and electronic, and sounds bad.
Okay. We're gonna just have to deal with this. Fuck.
That's better.
All right.
That's better. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it really? Oh, cool. Just probably static. It was just probably static.
Much better.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. 23 people have entered the waiting room. So, Robyn, we're just saying.
Who's Robyn?
Intermission as well.
I'm confused. Is that Dennis or?
I love you, man. So intermission, yeah, roughly about the hour mark. We'll put everyone in breakout rooms, and then we'll just leave you, Stephen, and I, and we'll just chat about how it's going, just quickly, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll say what's the next half entail. So that way, it's like a sort of a break for you as well to realign. Is that cool?
Yeah, and again, none of my business, but Robyn, if I were you, I'd maybe tilt your camera down a little bit or sit up a bit high because you're very low in the frame.
Yeah, it's
and your name is obscuring your. Yeah, that's better.
We have a problem with this each time, don't we, Joey?
All the time, I tell her, because I've I'm a cinematographer
Well,
of 30 years.
Dennis is probably much taller than Robyn, I'm guessing.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Yeah. Well, it's 9:59, right, sir.
So you better send me into the waiting room. All right, I'm off. Are you going to send me or do I go?
I'll send you.
No, I'm going to my waiting room.
Please enjoy the hors d'oeuvres and the hors d'oeuvres and the scotch.
Like, am I sent
the green room. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still here.
That's better. Okay. Bye, Stephen.
Bye.
How does that look?
Yeah, that looks a bit better. You look gorgeous.
Fire.
You look gorgeous. I'm going to start admitting people in a minute. Yeah. Hey?
Did you want me to go up a bit higher or not?
Yes, you can. Can you? Can you lift the chair?
Sorry. It's just like he's so much taller than me.
You're so much taller than you.
Okay. No, that's worse. Worse. That's worse.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's better.
That's better. Hi.
All right, let them in.
Let them in?
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock.
Let them in. Go for it. Let everyone except Stephen in. Yeah.
Stephen, how long, when's he coming in?
Can you put that in a small screen so I can see them coming in? Stephen's coming in about 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe about 5 minutes?
5 minutes. Yeah, should be 5 minutes.
Let everyone
Brandon, hello, Luddy, Andrew English, Bobby Lee Dion, Monica Pye. Robyn, look at these people coming in. Wow. Hey guys. Hey Robyn, what are we doing here? How are you?
What are we doing here? I'm not sure.
I'm just chilling at my house. What about you?
Well, I'm chilling at a friend's house.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What are we here to do today? We've got people connecting to audio, people jumping in. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming. Well, good. Hope you have your water ready. Your water. Keep hydrated.
And some pen and paper, right? Take some
pen and paper and some notes. My name's Joseph H. Weeby. My friends call me Joey. And this is the lovely Robyn Deuce. We are hosting this event today with the wonderful Stephen Bernstein. Hi, guys. Ivan Tag, Luddy.
Hey,
yeah. Hey, big shout out. Brandon Cappan.
See, some of these are like my friends. So Brandon, you're from LA.
Keith Keller. Keith Keller's in the house. Hey, Keith, big shout out to Keith Keller.
Hi, guys. Some have got Australian, some of the US.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see you guys.
Absolutely. We've got, yep, we almost admitted Stephen. No, we're not going to admit Stephen just yet. We've got Stephen waiting in the waiting room. He's super pumped, guys. Today's going to be a phenomenal experience. Just, I guess, should we lay down some house rules, or everyone's got their own house rules? I think we have 100 house rules here because there's, you know.
But we did ask Stephen, because just for you guys that are in the States, right? In Australia, we don't have squirrels. So you guys are used to seeing squirrels. So we asked Stephen if he could be a squirrel.
That's all right. I don't even know what it's going to be like.
Yeah. So because there's a lot of people in the room, guys, so we just ask we'll direct the attention to people, and we'll ask specific questions to people. But mainly, if we can,
I told you that one of the auditions you got me, I was in Hudson Yards.
yeah. So if we can mute everyone for a second and unmute Robyn and I. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, that's fine. Oh no, that's better not to do that actually.
Oh.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. You can still hear me? We're having some technical difficulties, Robyn. That's okay. Camera. And 3, 2, 1. We'll just change the camera. 1 more second. All righty. We're going to fix the green screen here. Hey, guys. My battery just died for the camera. So, really super excited, guys. If you can start the chat going, I want to see some chats going on the side of the box. I want to see some questions. What would you like to ask Stephen? So through what's going to happen is we're going to unmute people as we pick a few people to question Stephen during the course of this Q&A. And Rob and I are really excited because those of you who don't know Stephen, he has a phenomenal history in the Hollywood industry. Like I can't beg enough of you guys to ask some questions in the chat box and engage, introduce yourselves, use this as a networking event because this is industry. Yeah, we're from the industry, right, Robyn?
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, like, ask some really quality questions because I'll definitely keep the tab on the Zoom on the chat box. And if there's a great question to ask, like if I see like, oh my God, that's a huge question to ask, I'm going to ask it straight off. You know, so, and just a little bit of like, if we can just keep love resonating. So if everyone can just give themselves a hug, because you're amazing for showing up today. Yeah. Yes. And hands up if you're excited. Hands up if you're excited to see Stephen today. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
hands
awesome.
up if you've met him before, online or in person. Okay, we've got a few people. Sarita, you've met him before. Fantastic. Awesome. This is good. So I've had the privilege. This is how my introduction to Stephen was. I hustled on Instagram. I don't know if that's a thing, hustling on Instagram, right? But I hustled on Instagram, networking. I followed him for a while. And at the beginning of the year, I said, I'm going to take this opportunity to reach out to him because I've been following him. I've been commenting on his stuff. I reached out to him on his Instagram and I said, man, can I interview you? He goes, yeah, sure. COVID just started at this point. So he had, copious amounts of time and it was a really great opportunity. Yeah. Taking opportunity in COVID. Hands up if we've taken a great opportunity to COVID to network. Have we? Yeah. Amazing. Right.
Yeah.
So I interviewed him and halfway in the interview, I'm like, Stephen, are you enjoying this conversation? He's like, yeah, Joy, I'm really happy that you've recorded this, I hope. And I looked at him, I said, oh shit, I forgot to record this, man. So he's like, oh, that's okay. We'll do it again. So we did it again and I put it on YouTube and it was a phenomenal interview. I loved it. Something that I learned in this period of COVID was taking the opportunity, right, Robyn? Taking this opportunity
Absolutely.
to network and interview people. Like they're so open for it, guys. Those of you out there just starting out in the entertainment industry, or those of you out there that have been in the industry, you understand the power of networking, the power of podcasting, the power of interviewing, gaining knowledge from someone else's experience. It's so much more valuable than anything can put a word on it, right, Robyn?
Absolutely, it sure is. It's really important to use this time, guys, like to be as creative as possible. Because the world opens up and it's like your time now is when everyone's available. Producers, directors, they're all available. So now is the time to like Joey said, hustle on social media, like find ways to be creative because you may not get this time again. So I suggest to utilize this time as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So hit the one button right now in the chat box if you'd like me to bring Stephen in. Robyn, what do you reckon? Are we ready? Are we
I
ready
think
for him?
so. I think these guys have been waiting.
Yeah? Who's ready? Hit the one. I want to see some ones going in the chat box. Now hit some twos. I want to see some twos in there. If
Yes,
you have...
random. One, one, one,
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
one. Two, 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 two,
It's
two.
going up. It's going
I
up.
love that.
All right, guys. All right, guys. Let's bring him in. What do you reckon? Hands up. Hands up. Ready to go? Yes? We all calm, collected, ready to listen and really gain some much valued experience and wisdom. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stephen Bernstein. We'll hit the admit button. We'll bring him on in. And just make sure he's unmuted. He's coming on in. Ask to unmute. Okay. So we'll highlight him as well. Yeah, we'll pick the video and we'll highlight him. I've got someone behind the scenes doing some technical stuff while I hold the mic. We're going to find him. Where are you, Stephen?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Bernstein.
How are you, Stephen?
I'm good. How are you, Robyn? Everyone good there?
Good. I'm hoping you brought the squirrel with you today.
You guys are obsessing about the squirrel. The squirrel is,
We're obsessing about this squirrel.
the squirrel and all the other wildlife are just outside my door, looking in my back garden as I am at the moment. So.
Stephen, we have an
So,
amazing
it's
amount of
lovely.
people here. They're super excited. We asked them to hit the ones and the twos if they're excited. Have a look at the chat box. Everyone's excited to see you. Everyone is super pumped to gain some value out of this, you know, some insightful value. And, you know, I just want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
No, my great pleasure. I think it would be great if we go through life and periodically, as we pass other people, they would give us numbers to indicate whether they value us or not.
Yeah.
Or that could be
That's a
that
pretext.
could be tragic. It's not unlike really when a film gets released. I think part of the joy and terror of making a film is that, you know, artistic expression, I think, is one of the most sacred, because you are not only expressing your own selfhood, what you believe is your understanding of the world and of the human condition, but it's something that you've created. It's part of yourself. It's your insight. It's that which you determine whether you're of value or not. And then you finish it, and you go to the final edit of the mix, and you think it's concluded, and you envision whether people will like it or not, and presumably you're hoping that they will. And then you get good and inevitably bad reviews. You get bad reviews because sometimes we don't succeed in what we intend to do. We get bad reviews because sometimes our vision is different than others. And we get bad reviews because sometimes people are acting out, that they're frustrated that the world has not dealt them the hand that they wish it would have dealt, that somehow they feel that by being angry or by punishing others, that they will succeed more themselves. I mean, it's like a love pie. They feel that if you succeed, they're less likely to succeed themselves, which of course isn't the case. But inevitably, you can't be that psychological or emotionally distant when you're reading your own reviews. And when you get bad reviews, and if you create, you're going to get bad reviews at some point in your career. It's going to be painful and difficult sometimes. And then you have to determine whether you are what they perceive, or whether you are what you perceive, or whether, as the Buddhists think, you're neither, that you really can't wholly understand the objective reality, and it's in some amorphous area in between. But importantly, I think significantly, it's better to do and not be concerned about what others think. I mean, it's lovely to get good reviews and make films that make lots of money. But even if you don't, I think your selfhood can't be dependent on those reviews. So although I would love to have gotten more ones, I note I only got 3, but that's okay. That's
okay. So guys, we want to see some more ones. We want to.
No, we don't.
Thanks, Paul.
No,
Thanks, Paul.
It goes against the whole principle of what I'm saying. Ultimately, is better to love than be concerned about being loved. But you know, and I think better to create than not. And ultimately, the thing I always say in these talks and others is, you have to love failing. You've got to want to go out and fail. When I'm speaking to young writers, I say the most important lesson you can learn as a writer is try to write the worst script you possibly can, because then you write. And if you, on the other hand, I was just speaking to a collaborator this morning I'm doing a big project with in Greece, and he was having trouble cranking out the pages they need to crank out because he's a very analytical person, and each word, each sentence, each phrase, he was analyzing, trying to determine whether it was great or not. And he wanted to write a great script, so he thought every word had to be great. And if there's one way to make sure that you never write a script, it's trying to write a great one, or try to write great phrases or great sequences. You've got to free yourself of that and simply understand that writing and creation is discovery. It's not like you make an outline. Oh, I hate outlines. Anyone who writes an outline is misguided. Anyone who plans is misguided. That first script that you write, you have to write as quickly as you possibly can with no plan, no outline, no intentions, because writing is discovery. That's where you discover your ideas. That's where you find your narrative. That's where you discover your characters. That's where you discover your conflict. The idea that you read a book by McKee or anybody else, and that you do an outline of where the 3 acts are going to land and where the drama is going to be and where the plot points are, and then you write after that, is backwards, because all you're focusing then on is story and not what people really care about, which is human beings with all their complexities. And the way to discover the nature of those complexities in yourself and in your characters is to write. So write first, then go back and then introduce structure. Kind of way I live my life as well.
I love that, man. That's amazing. One of the first things that you brought to my mind when we were interviewing each other on you, second time I interviewed you, I was telling everyone prior to this entry that I interviewed you and you're like, Joey, did you record this? And I'm like, no, shit, I didn't record it. He's like, oh, that's okay, we'll do it again. The second time around, you elaborated from this and you told me how you do it, how you walk around, how your morning ritual or the afternoon ritual with your, what is it? The
no, morning ritual, the ice cold shower, and then the water sometimes, but then the long walks with a little microphone, which I record things with. And I just, what I discovered, I'm trying to eliminate, here's a microphone, you've seen one of those before. I try to eliminate any obstacles to genuine creative expression. The reason I'd rather talk to myself than to others is that all human interaction is essentially dishonest. The minute we have an audience, even if it's an audience of one, we're either selling ourselves or trying to convince someone else of something about us, or we're trying to portray ourselves in a particular way. No matter how confident we are, we can't eliminate that part of the practice. But when I'm by myself and talking and imagining and thinking, I'm being as honest as I can with myself. The other thing is just the physical process of typing, moving my hands, encoding ideas. All writing, all expression is encoding. It's taking something in here and then putting it in a code, which may be the English language, could be another language, could be a visual language, could be a composition. Those are all languages. But we take ideas, we encode them, and then we present them to someone else. My process of encoding when it's physical is more difficult than simply talking. Talking is the way I discover ideas. So I talk a lot. I talk too much.
No, you don't. No, you don't. It's wonderful. Hands up. Hands up if you're enjoying this so far. Yeah. Can I get a show of hands? Yeah.
I got to
awesome.
say something I've enjoyed. Jeff Lipton. I'm not going to tell everyone your idea, Jeff, but I read it, and rarely, because I don't believe in log lines, I don't believe in short descriptions, but this made me laugh. So Jeff, I hope it's a comedy. So whatever it is, it seems a great idea. Rarely do I read other people's material. I'm not like allowed to by the Writers Guild, because if there's some sad incident where I am writing something that's similar and you send me a script that's almost identical to something I've written already, then later, if I have some success in the box office, you can say, hang on, that was my idea, not that would ever happen, but it has happened to WGA writers, so they advise us against ever reading a script. Plus, I get, sadly, a couple of hundred people each month offering to send me their scripts, which I'm delighted by, and I'm glad they're writing, and I'm happy to help theoretically, but it's very, very hard for me, unless I'm under contract with someone, to give any advice or to read a script. Plus, I'm writing my own scripts, and I'm a little bit buried now. By the way, isn't it strange during this pandemic how much busier all of us are? And as writers, we're all looking for excuses not to write. And now I no longer have an excuse, which is why I spend so much time with the squirrels, because I figure that benefiting wildlife is better than
I'm always excited to see those squirrels.
I actually Googled it. I actually Googled if you can buy a squirrel. I think it's.
Oh, you
I think
did
it's,
too.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Did
That's
you?
awesome.
No,
So yeah,
well, I was going to say we have a drama going on in the backyard. So everything's a drama ultimately. If you
yeah.
decide to impose your perception of it, and we have these blue jays, which my partner, who's the very brilliant designer and producer, Carolyn Rodney, she puts out nuts for these blue jays
Wow.
and
Oh.
peanuts, and they come and they get them. So now it's regular practice. They come to her window, they look through the window at her and wait for her. She brings them out there. And the blue jays, who, bless them, are not the smartest animals. I mean, they're smart enough, they survive. They go and bury their excess peanuts in our back garden. And then almost the minute they fly away, the squirrels come over the fence and eat the nuts that the blue jays have just buried.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
That's just
Fantastic.
I think
just
us Australians are obsessed
Yeah.
every time we come to LA. It's like that's all we talk about is these squirrels because we're just so not used to seeing them. So it's
there
like
are a lot of squirrels. Well, directors and writers are like blue jays and producers are like squirrels. Well, I'll let you figure that one out.
That's awesome. Who agrees with that? So, hey, I'd like to throw it out there to the audience, guys, because there's tons of people in here. It's so fantastic. There's 60 participants right now. What a phenomenal show up. I'd like to put your hand up if you'd like to ask a question. I'm going to pick a question. Is that okay, Robyn and Stephen?
yeah, I think Jeff has just asked a question.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually unmute someone and give them the opportunity to ask the question. Is that okay? You guys
Yeah.
are right with that? Cool.
Unmuting someone, yes. It's shocking.
Yeah.
Carry on.
It's an event. Okay. So I'd love to, if you want to ask Stephen a question, chuck your hand up. I'm going to flow through right now and unmute someone. Here we go. We've got Galaxy A20. Let's go. Here we go. Ask to unmute. Go for it,
Yes,
brother.
hello.
Hi, how you
Can
going?
you hear me? Hi.
Yeah, we can hear.
Hey.
Hi, Robyn. Nice seeing you again.
Yes, nice to see you. Been a long time.
Has. And Stephen, this is the same Stephen that from White Chicks, right?
Yes.
my streak continues. I've given lectures all around the world, on television, on radio, I've been interviewed by magazines. The first question on every single interview I've done, never about Monster, which won an Oscar, like what if the Chuck with the highest foreign language film of all time, not about SWAT. It's always about White Chicks. And I'm delighted because I'm glad that film has brought so much joy to people. But yes, I am that Steve Bernstein from White Chicks. How can I help you?
That's awesome.
Galaxy
So what's
A20.
your name? Yeah, what's your name, Galaxy A20?
My name's Henry, first of all.
Henry. Thank you, Henry.
Nice to meet you, Henry.
And nice meeting you too. And just want to say it's a privilege to be in this meeting. It's my first time using Zoom, and just want to say that it's a real privilege and stuff. And thank you for inviting me, especially Robyn.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's an absolute pleasure, brother. So Stephen, what so thank you, man. This is awesome. So we'll throughout this 2-hour interview and Q&A with Stephen, I just want to let you guys know that we're going to have an intermission at about the 1 hour mark where we'll break you guys off into rooms, which you'll be in with complete randoms. And that's okay. If you're not up for that, you can you feel free to turn off your video, turn off your mic. But what it does, it gives us a chance to just reconvene and see how we can show up the second half of this Q&A. So right now, Robyn, would you like to ask Stephen an amazing question? Because I know you're a powerhouse of questions. Like your networking brilliance, and I've learned so much from you. Would you like to ask him a really powerful question?
And just before Robyn does, can I just, because I see some of these questions popping up, Alana, thank you for liking Monster, so much. It's it's also interesting about the idea of films and entertainment is that Monster's a hard film. I mean, it's ultimately about love. It's a romance, but it's a romance about with a serial killer based on a woman named Eileen Warren, who actually lived and was executed in the state of Florida, which is going to spend a big part of all of our futures here in America. But the thing about Monster is that people are killed there. You see tortured spirits. You see ultimately, sensibly, people who seem unattractive. But what Patty Jenkins did so elegantly in that script is she found within those scarred, damaged people something that we all share, which is the need for love and the validation, where we began this discussion. So that's what I like about films and why it's so hard to create formulas about what makes a successful film. We like to think that, this is what people will find appealing. This does well in this particular demographic. They even have people in studios in particular who do research about what films will inevitably succeed. but you can't anticipate that unless you really do a close examination of what it is to be a human being. And I think ultimately what we look for in films, although we enjoy the chases and the explosions and the universal events when we feel at menace, where the characters that we relate to are, ultimately it's about the shared human experience and the vulnerabilities we see in the characters on screen, which is very different from the way a lot of people approach films. But I cut you off, Robyn, to your question.
I could ask you so many questions. I guess mine would be, I guess, a two-part question. In this COVID time, I'm personally dealing with a lot of friends who are not coping mentally, you know, with what's happening in the world, with the pandemic, which is affecting their whole world, their whole creative process. So for me, I'm always like someone who turns, I guess, negatives from positive, but I'm finding a lot of people are really like not dealing with, you know, lack of money, lack of jobs. So what would you suggest, what do you personally do, and what would you suggest to creatives out there to turn from a negative to a positive and to get that creative process starting, and then I guess once, you know, and getting that momentum in this COVID period?
Right. Great and essential. Look, and by the way, I don't think we necessarily have to turn negatives into positives. I think sometimes negatives are the most
absolutely.
valuable things
Agreed.
that can occur
Agreed.
in our lives. It's, first of all, it's a tragedy that's universal. It's across the world, and what small comfort it is that everyone's suffering simultaneously. But let's look a little bit to the future and borrow the wisdom of our life experiences for those of us who are older. The one constant is change, and though the world is not predictable, we can be certain that whatever condition we're currently in will alter for the better or potentially for the worse. Now, in this particular circumstance, I think it is inevitable, when every scientist in the world and every sentient mind is working towards the same positive solution, this will end. And knowing that this will end, I think predicates all our other thinking. When it ends, where are we going to be? Now, I think when we were talking yesterday, the day before, whatever it is, I said that every writer's dream, and I think there's a Twilight Zone episode like this once, where you stop time, where everything stops for a moment, and you can then use that time to do whatever you want. For most writers, it's catching up to write the screenplays that you are due to your clients, or if it's a speculative one that you're writing yourself, now, as no one's chasing you for work or a bill, or you don't have to pursue that job opportunity or whatever else you're going to do, now you have time to actually write. But it's interesting how significant deadlines were in our pre-COVID world, that somehow we want the potential catastrophe of failure to inspire us, because sometimes we're more inspired by avoiding catastrophe than seeking success. And I would rather seek success than be frightened of failure. So with that being said, we have to think about the future. And remember, we all live principally in an imagined world. We think about our past, the past is gone. So that's only lives in our imagination. We're in the present, but the present is not as we perceive it. People think differently than we do. We misperceive, we have predispositions that leave us confused and uncertain, but rarely are we seeing the world exactly as it is. But most significantly, we're imagining the future, and we don't know what the future is going to be. But once our hormones or our whatever it is, are the chemical mind, the hippocampus and everything else conspires for us to be in that fight or flight mode, we begin imagining the future is going to be as bad or worse than the present. We have no certain evidentiary support of that, but we're predisposed to produce certain chemical responses that make us frightened, because fright is a defense mechanism. It says, prepare, something bad's going to happen. And once we get in that cycle, things just get worse and worse. There is no certainty the future is going to be bad. In fact, all the evidence suggests it's going to be much better. So now that, to make this thesis work, now that we have time stopped, now that no one's pursuing us, now that nothing's moving forward, now that all the people we're competing with aren't passing us, they're just in the same place we are, everybody is stuck. Why worry about the future, which is only imagined and uncertain? Why not take advantage of this time to be all the things we wanted to be before the COVID came? Why not write the scripts we wanted to write? Why not believe in the things that we want to believe? Why not shape the world as we wish to shape it? Because it's imagined and it's in the future, we can determine to a certain degree what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And yet so many people get into this cycle. Right now, we've got a presidential election about to happen in America, and we've got, on top of the COVID, and here in California, the 3 biggest wildfires in history all happening at the same time. If those 3 things together doesn't make anybody start to think about fight or flight, I don't know what will. But still, the fires will stop. The election will come and go, and COVID will end. When those things happen, where are you going to be? Have you written that script you wanted to write? Have you learned more about cinematography if you're cinematographers? Have you practiced directing? Have you read the book, my future book, or my last book about film practice? If you're an actor or actress, have you practiced on tape? All those things are available to you now. And no, there may not be a certain result. And no, you may not get the number 1 in the chat room that you want all the time, the positive reinforcement that you're looking for. But do something, do anything. I'll tell you something that happened to me.
Yeah.
Look, I'm easily inclined to depression. I spend a lot of time by myself. And I write early in the morning. And again, that's a formula for me to start ruminating on all the things, particularly in the past, that I did or didn't do. My failure as a human being. And I have failed repeatedly as a human being. I failed as a creative artist. I failed in every possible imagined way. And then as I sit to write, I suddenly think, oh my God, maybe the script isn't good. Maybe I'll never get hired again. Maybe I'll fall out of popularity. Maybe younger writers will take away all my work. And once that happens, I find myself becoming paralyzed, like a repeating record, like some self-hypnosis of destruction. And then I will suddenly, my usual reaction to it is, no, I'm not going to let this happen. They used to say the best advice to give to someone who's virtually suicidal is to say to them, if you're willing to make such an absolute decision, then you can absolutely do anything else. So rather than committing suicide, I want to take what the last dollars that you have and fly to the Bahamas. What do you have to lose? What's going to happen? Go to Hawaii. Write a script. Because if you're going to make a radical decision, why not make a different radical decision? Because you no longer care about your life. Well, then throw yourself into something else. That's the way I try to make all my decisions. I'm imagining that you know, I may become seriously ill tomorrow. Some catastrophe will befall me. Who knows what's going to happen? Therefore, I threw myself into various projects that have become stale. And I wrote to producers, to investment partners, to people at studios and so on, and said, hey, I know nobody's working, but these are some ideas I have. These are things I'm working on. And I'm concerned that they won't get commissioned when the thing ends. Can you guys commit to this? And long proposals, elaborate examinations and studies of the projects that I was partially way through developing. And what happened, miraculously? I sent 7 off. I got 5 positive responses, huge positive responses. Now, that's not because of my genius, but that's because rather than remaining in that stasis, rather than remaining in that repeating cycle of fear, rather than creating interior dialogue about how things would certainly unwind, I acted. So all I ask anybody to do at this time of crisis is, I'm not asking you to be Pollyanna or imagine there's no virus, you know, or it's some world conspiracy to fool everyone so that Bill Gates can plant chips in you or any of that sort of stuff. I live in California. We hear these things, you know, people and people believe them. No, it's an incident, a historical incident that will pass. But when it does pass, will you be ready for what comes next? And that's the key thing, to be active during this moment when time has stopped and to see it as an incredible opportunity to focus on yourself and emerge as an entirely different person, Eliminate those things that make you unhappy, seize on those things that make you happy and successful, and pursue them.
That's amazing, Stephen.
Absolutely.
Hands up if you're enjoying this so far, and I'll put it in the chat box. There's lots of comments. Yes. It's amazing.
I feel that it's important, Stephen, for the people, the audience there, to see that you still have those doubts, because especially in Australia, you know, a lot of people often think that people of your caliber who have, you know, achieved, you know, big movies, that you don't have those doubts or those fears. So it's like really good for the audience out there to, even at your level, that you're still having those doubts, you still have those fears, and, you know.
Everybody, look, the thing that's universal is we're all frightened. Everybody's frightened. I've worked with, not because I'm a great person, but I've worked with some of the biggest actors in the world, and I'm friends with some of them, which doesn't, they're not sending me ones like you are, but that's, some of them sending me 2s and 3s, you know. And I speak to them, particularly just before we start a film, and you know, Oscar winners and Oscar nominees. And the thing we all share is the day before a shoot, all of us are petrified. Petrified that we'll fail, petrified that we've lost our abilities, petrified that the crew will hate us, whatever else, the film's not good, the director doesn't work, the producers are aberrant and dishonest. We are all frightened. It's universal. One actor who I won't mention, but is a friend of mine, we both fly airplanes, big deal. I love flying because you get up in the clouds and completely by yourself. And
fly you to the moon, Stephen. Fly you to the moon.
This Zen-like thing where you're focused on your 6 main instruments. You stop thinking about anything else. You're completely in the moment. It's clarifying. It's wonderful. So this actor and his wife, they're now divorced, but they both became pilots. And he's the most famous actor in the world, or one of the 2 or 3 most famous actors in the world. And our planes were next to each other. And one day we were there, and the weather was kind of inclement, and we were trying to decide whether we should take off or not and fly IFR, which means instrument flying through the clouds and potential storm. And in this moment of epiphany, I looked at this actor who's played so many roles of this, the ultimate kind of you know, superhero or non-toxic masculine or very toxic masculine, whatever your preference is, you know, hero. And I saw that he was terrified. And I thought, well, of course he's terrified. He's a human being. He's not what we portray. And this is our problem, is that most of our experience in the world is mediated through the fictive world. We see people in movies, or particularly heroic movies, and we see them portrayed as fearless or brave or virtually lacking in any imperfections, which is why I prefer the type of drama where we see people as they are, which is full of complex emotions, including fear. And why I love human interaction with as many people as I can, because the more people we interact with, particularly when it's like an extended family, which is now absent, because the way we mediate most of the world is through film rather than through people, we see the inconsistencies in our family, and we say, okay, well, if everyone in my family is a little bit crazy, if everyone in my family is a little bit frightened, if everyone in my family fails from time to time, then I can.
Yeah.
But if we only see movies or television, and we see everyone, even if they're temporarily imperfect, ultimately perfect by the end, then we think, my God, I can never be that person. And nobody's that person. That's in part why that fictive world was created, to suggest something that's more ideal than the world we're living in. So when we enjoy it vicariously and they triumph, we can triumph. But that isn't our model for life. That is our fantasy life. And I think that's significant.
That's fantastic, man. So good. I've got a good question here from Keith Keller. Right? Can I ask you this question, Stephen? And it sort of segues onto what you were saying and of COVID. And now that we're in this Zoom conference, it's such a privilege. Now that many of us have embraced Zoom, etc., will video conferencing and live video become part of the new hybrid of content theme in the 2020s?
I think, in part, it will. I think ultimately, going back to my last point, that although we love communication, and it's great to see all these different faces. I'm looking at Sarita, by the way, what a beautiful name, Sarita, may I say? And Brandon and everybody else. I just think it's cool.
Very gorgeous looking room. Very gorgeous.
It's cool to see people and know that everyone's interested. I'm wondering about each person's, life. Galaxy A20 and everybody else. I'm thinking, where are these people? They're in a different part of the world. What lives are they leading? But what I love most of all is to be in a room with people. The only time I feel genuinely alive is when, tragically, I'm on a film set. I feel that interaction, that pressure that all of us are under, the shared community, a sense of being an extended family, seeing people under pressure, sharing in triumph and in failure, being mutually supportive. It's the biggest family you can imagine. Suddenly you have a family of 300 people with all those dynamics. And then when it ends, there's never a film shoot that's ended that I haven't cried a little bit. And then the day after, you fall into a deep depression. But the first week or two, it's exhilarating, and you feel connected with the world, and you feel better about yourself and about this experience that we're all sharing, which is life. So yes, I think inevitably we've discovered things like this, a way to communicate, and there's going to be a lot more time spent on the internet. And a lot of people saying to me, is film over? Will people stop going to the cinema? We still ultimately, all of us, want to be in a community, a temporary community, like just viewing a movie, or in a stadium watching a sports event, or working on a film crew. So we will do more of this, but I think also we will long for the day when we can sit in that magical space, which is a cinema, let the lights go down, smell the popcorn, hear the person behind us guffawing at a joke we didn't think funny, or suddenly we're all laughing together or sobbing together at the denouement of some very emotional and well-written drama. We long for that day, and I think that we will seek it, and that is ultimately what we will prefer. Keith's absolutely right, the world will be forever altered, but so also are those things that we hold precious will be renewed.
Fantastic. Can we get a round of applause? Can we just get some clapping happening? Yes, thank you. That's awesome. That is so good, man. So good. And Galaxy A20 just wrote, Stephen, just so you know, Galaxy A20 just wrote, "Hi, I'm Galaxy A20. My name's Henry." Just so you know.
Joey, I knew that.
I knew that, Henry, but I was worried I got Henry wrong, and then I was going to embarrass myself. So I said, better just say Galaxy A20 than say Henry.
What was that, Robyn?
Joey, I think there was a question about pitch. I think it was Paul Talbot.
Yeah, fantastic question. I was reading that. That was the next one. Thank you. Do you want to read it out?
You can read it out. I can't see it.
Okay, sorry guys, just a bit of static there on my mic. Okay, so Paul Talbot's question is, it's a great question, Paul. Thank you for that. What are the first steps into pitching a script? Who to contact, how, and security from things such as intellectual theft?
A great question indeed. First of all, don't worry too much about intellectual theft. I know it's much rumored, and we live in a world where we worry about these things, but rarely does anyone steal anyone else's ideas. I know we read the stories, but we've got to understand the way things are reported. Inevitably, people report the sensational. The number of ideas that are stolen are very, very few. And besides which, if you haven't written a whole script, just sending a treatment doesn't count generally in court. I can't say unequivocally, I'm not a lawyer, but as an idea that you can even protect. So even if you did try to protect it, people could still say, well, I was equally influenced by these other outside forces. It's based on some historical event, and you're not going to win ultimately. If you send a whole script, then you might be concerned that someone will steal that idea. But again, the incidences for the thousands of scripts that are out there, very, very few. If you want to be super safe, you should copyright your script and contact the American Copyright Office, and then you are protected. Sending, I'm a member of the WGA. Trust me, registering with the WGA doesn't really count as protection. I know everyone tells you to register it, but the sure way of getting someone not to read your script is to write in the front page WGA registered, because it doesn't make you seem like a professional. So don't do that, but do copyright it. And if you want to be super safe, something I still do is I take my script when I finish it, I put it in an envelope, and I send it by registered post, I don't know what's called in Australia, to myself. So I've got a registered bit of post, mail, that sits in my office or in my safe. So if there's ever a dispute later, I can say, hey, look, you know, I wrote this, and this is the date that the registered mail came to me, and it was before anyone else did that. That's the first thing. So don't worry too much about that. As for getting the script out there, look, it's a competitive world. There's no question, and there's a lot of writers out there and a lot of producers. all of whom want to get their films made, and you're going up against that. My basic rule is to not follow rules or orthodoxies. You've got to engage your audience, just as you do when you make a film. You've got to see your treatment or your presentation as having an audience. So writing a log line, I'm sure I'll get punished for this by all those of you who work in the industry, but I think it's just a terrible idea, because I must say, if your film can be described in one line, it's probably not worth writing. So what you actually want to do is create a presentation that engages your audience, their potential investor or your potential producer, whoever it may be. I just did one for a horror comedy where I took photographs off the internet that had nothing to do specifically with the characters I was writing, but was related to it. So there would be visual elements that people could look at and find amusing or horrifying. I then did samples of individual scenes, not the first 5 pages or the second 5, but just arbitrary scenes that I thought would be really cool to write. And I showed a couple sample pages of that. And then I did a little bit where I would do diagrams about the way different scenes would be done. I did some references about costumes. I created a whole package so that someone reading it couldn't put it down. They would flip through it and say, this is like an illustrated novel. This is like a comic book. This is like a movie. And as they look at it, by the time they got to the end, they would say, wow, I would love to see this as a film. It's remarkable to me that when people do presentations, they think it's got to be like a legal document, that somehow there's an official way to do it. Again, there's courses and books and experts that say, here's the way to write a log line, here's the way to do a treatment. And a treatment, by the way, is a description of a film. Every art form has found its ideal language. And cinema is a visual language as well as using sound. To describe a film is to like going to the Louvre and writing a description of the paintings you see there, and then try to publish it and see if anyone's interested in reading it. Would you rather see an impressionist painting or expressionist painting or a cubist painting? Or would you rather see a written description with no illustration? Well, the answer to that is obvious. You'd rather see the painting. When hearing music, would you rather hear the music or see a really good writer describe the music? So when you're making a film or presenting a film, do you want to describe the film in 5 good paragraphs? Or do you want to engage the audience with illustrations, with samples, with scenes, with characters actually talking, rather than just the description? So I say violate, I'm always saying violate every rule, but violate the orthodoxy. Don't write a log line, don't write a treatment. Do a presentation with pictures, with sample scenes, and make it exciting. Make it the most exciting 10 minutes in that reader or producer's or investor's life, at least for that day. And when they put it down, they'll say, wow, I really want to make this film. I must contact the writer. Particularly true with scripts, because if you send a script to an agency, one of the big 7, I promise you it'll either get thrown in the trash if you're not represented by an agent, or they'll give it to a reader who's just out of college and has read 2 books on screenwriting and will have a checklist as to how they should analyze a script, and usually they're wrong, bless them. I know many of them, I've taught many of them, but they don't get it right. So find a different way. Yeah, Steve Yeager calls it a pitch book. Some people call it a pitch book, but just something that excites and engages people. And then who do you go to? You can go to the studios, you can go to production companies, but again, they're inundated, particularly right now. The number of people sending scripts to Netflix, they could build another new building with it, so probably not the way to go. But there are production companies with experienced producers who might have ins to various streaming services or studios or sources of finance, and those are people you might consider going to. Or you might break the cycle of the way these things are classically done and end up in development hell with nothing getting done. And you may just go out and raise the money yourself. Take your scripts with your presentations and your lookbook with the way the costumes and the sets will look. Think of actors that you may want, and don't go out and try to sign actors to attachments, because attachments are not binding contracts. And any actor who signs on to attach to a project usually is an actor who's having trouble finding work. So they'll be charging you maximum fee. You'll get minimum value because they wouldn't be taking attachment if they had a lot of work. Yet everybody does this, and then you're attached to an actor you may not even want, that doesn't have a value, and you're paying a lot of money for them. So rather, what I think you do is get a great concept, create a great lookbook, a great pitch book, and go directly to finance. Go to the dentists and doctors and lawyers and people who made a lot of money in the stock market and say, hey, I've written this project. Can you give me $1 million to get it rolling? And by the way, we'll put it in an escrow account, which means that it goes into a bank account that no one can touch it until a particular threshold is met. And then you go to the second person and say, I've got $1 million or euros in this escrow account. Here's my pitch deck. I need another $1 million, but your money won't be released until all the money's released and until I sign these actors, not actors I put on attachment, but real actors you hope to get later, but we'll only go to them once you have money, because when you have money, you can make real offers and get good actors at a lower price. And then they put the money in, and all of a sudden you have all the money. So there's all sorts of ways to do this, but this is the way this worked for me, which is violate all the rules, do it yourself, don't attach actors, don't write log lines, don't write boring treatments, and don't do it the way other people are doing it. And best of luck. I'm sorry I'm talking so fast.
Don't
There's
be
so
sorry.
much I want to
No,
say,
no.
but
I know, it's such a short space of time.
I
I'm
might
sure
just ask a quick question to that.
if that was good, can I get some ones and twos?
Can we chuck some
Nothing.
ones in there and twos? That's
Nothing.
awesome.
There's nothing. There's
Oh,
nothing.
here we go. Now check it out. Check it out.
Oh,
There it is. There it is. Here they come.
Wow.
Great engagement.
Yeah,
there we go.
Thank you. KD, thank you. Fantastic. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I apologize. All right. Wow.
Awesome.
Jennifer, wow. Wow. Keith, wow. Thank you very much. All right. I'll stop whining.
This is amazing, guys. Thank you so much. How about we put it out to the people? Do we want to unmute one person? Robyn, do you want to select one person and we'll unmute it? You select the person, I'll unmute them, they can ask a question.
Oh, who have we got? Sarita. I know Sarita personally, so Sarita.
Sarita, okay. Sarita, you ready to be unmuted? You just give me a nod. You happy with that? Yep. Okay. Here we go.
And can we do Brandon next, because Brandon is right above my head. So I've been
Absolutely. So we'll go Brandon next. So we'll go Sarita, then Brandon. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, sure. Sarita.
Hello.
Hi, Sarita.
Hi, Stephen. Fellow Brit. We've known each other on Facebook for 4 years this month, actually.
Oh, fantastic. Well done. Yes.
You know me as Jade Lazier.
Oh, of course. Hi.
Yeah, we met
discussing. You have two names. Why is this?
Because I was in witness protection for a while. Big story, another time.
Wow.
That was Robyn.
Like
so was Robyn. Don't worry.
On the way to a screenplay. Fantastic. Carry on. Yes.
Yeah, we met discussing your Dominion project.
Remember.
My question is actually kind of related to your monster project. Would you be interested in working with Charlize again?
Yes, of course. I mean, Charlize is a friend. That experience of that film was remarkable. And I know I've told the story before, and I think I might have told it on Joey's podcast before. So if I'm repeating myself, as I often do, forgive me. And this is something I have to say to my partner, Carolyn, all the time, because she's heard every one of my stories repeatedly. And I think she just gets nauseous now after a while and leaves the room, but she's very tolerant. But what happened on Monster is this: I was on SWAT, which is a huge action film, and they assigned me all the action sequences. So they were huge. We were crashing faux airplanes. We had over 20 cameras. We had a crew of 600 or 700 people, cranes, huge numbers of stunt peoples, firearms, explosions. It was just an enormous $150 million film, and that was when $150 was a lot of money, because it was a few years ago. And of course, Samuel Jackson and a lot of other great actors. So the experience was what I had imagined I would have always wanted, and I still will always value it. I have friends on that shoot that will remain friends for life, and I'm very proud of that film. If you see the action sequences, they are incredible. We had steady cams and cable cams and every crane that is imaginable, and slow motion, high speed, and a lot of it was done live rather than with visual effects. But the one thing worse than not getting what you want is getting what you want.
Mhm.
And as I stood on the 3rd Street Bridge one rainy night with all these cameras around me and you know, this enormous crew all coming asking me questions, and I was feeling just full of testosterone, I was also incredibly depressed because I thought this was the pinnacle. I was working on a huge Hollywood film in a senior position, and it didn't mean that much to me. And as I was saying earlier in this discussion, the future is uncertain, and we shouldn't presume that there's a inevitable momentum to whatever misery we're currently is dominating our sensibilities. And I got a call from an old friend of mine, a producer, who said, look, we're in Florida, we're doing a very small film, we're in deep trouble, we're thinking of shutting down. We need someone with your complementary skills as producer and as DP to come in, work out what the problem is, change whatever we need, convince the investors of bond company, whoever was threatening them, that we can continue, and we've got no money. And you know, I was getting paid a lot, you know, it's studio film, so I mean, a fortune on SWAT. And yet, for some odd reason, after I read the script, which I liked, I did the self-destructive thing of going to the producers and say, look, we only have 2 weeks left of shooting. I've given you all these shots. I would like to go to Florida and help a friend out, save his film. And they said, well, we think you're crazy on an independent film, but you know, we respect and like you enough, Stephen, that you know, fair enough. Just make sure you've got people to replace you and explain to the crew what's going on, so there's a continuity, which I did. And off I flew to Florida. And I flew to Florida and met Patty Jenkins and met Charlize and met everybody else there. And we had a great discussion. And I kind of ruthlessly went through and did what I had to do, eliminating some crew members, a lot of crew members, changing the cameras, and starting all again. And we had a very small team, and we were under enormous pressure, and we had a very small budget. And yet we managed to cobble together, I think, a remarkable film. Yeah. And we became very, very close. When we talk about family, every film is a family, but that was a film that was particularly close because we were under such pressure and we felt we were doing something important. I think I may have told the story that one day we had a very big scene between Christina Ricci and Charlize Theron, and they were to say goodbye to each other. The character played by Christina had betrayed the character played by Charlize, but they still loved each other. So the film was about love more than anything else. And the crew, it's just an ordinary crew. Some were the people I brought from Los Angeles, but some were local, had been watching this remarkable creative process of these people acting with integrity. Patty Jenkins, who directed the film, was a person of enormous integrity. And Charlize was just doing everything she could. She wore the same clothes that the character wore, even when she was offset. She's a pure mind and body person. She was smoking because the character smoked. We stayed in a horrible motel in a horrible little town of Daytona Beach in Florida, and she stayed with the crew. One night I remember she knocked on my room door at 3 in the morning. Bernstein, I need your help. And I ran down the hall, and she'd pulled her sheets back and found this awful brown, green, gray stain on her mattress, which had been there for God knows. We weren't sure if it was blood or something worse. And we pulled the sheets off and tried to get the hotel manager to replace the mattress. They wouldn't. But that was the sort of conditions that this stunning, talented woman was agreeing to work on because she had an integrity of vision in her performance. And this one day, the crew said, you know, Charlize and Christina got a big scene to do. The grip, of all people, this big tattooed guy who was wider than he was tall, said, Stephen, maybe it would be better if everyone stopped speaking today altogether. This is a grip talking to me. This is not, you know, a producer or a writer or an artist or an artisan, but the dolly grip. And I said, why? They said, well, we think it would help them concentrate. So I thought, what a great idea. We presented to the rest of the crew. And for that entire day, everybody spoke with sign language to each other, just gesturing and pointing to get complete silence.
Wow.
That's
wow.
amazing.
And the magnificent energy that was on that set, the sense of calm, the sense of vision, the sense of shared purpose was remarkable. And then when they did the scene and they were speaking to each other, 2 women saying goodbye to each other, I heard one sound as I was pushing the camera or riding the camera forward on the set. Was becoming a big close-up of Charlize, and it was somebody crying. I said, "Oh my God, I hope the sound is getting that." And it wasn't Charlize, and it wasn't Christina. And I looked behind my back, and there was this enormous grip with all his tattoos and his biker gear and everything else, crying, watching these two women confessing their love to each other.
That's amazing.
At the end of that shoot, when we called on the very last shot, which is in, if you've seen the film, there's a little terrible sort of amusement park, I guess we call them in America, I don't know what they're called in Australia. And we all knew it was coming. And we were rushing as usual. I was hand-holding everything. And I got on a Ferris wheel with Charlize and Christina. I was handling the camera, and the thing was slipping. It was a very old Ferris wheel. And we'd go up and the thing would slip back. So we thought we might crash, but we got the shot, and then we got off, and then we all looked at each other, and we realized the film was over. And everybody began hugging each other, crying, uncontrollably sobbing, holding, not even knowing what we meant to say to each other. So that sense of connection was so profound and so remarkable that it will last in our lives forever. Subsequently, tragically, the production designer of that film, about 18 months later, committed suicide, an unrelated issue. But then we all went to everybody, and usually, people always find excuses not to go to funerals. We were all there together in the room for his, service. So to Charlize, she's more than a friend. She's now like family. We're connected in unimaginable ways, and we will inevitably, work together. We talk about it from time to time. But, we have a code as filmmakers that when we have these special relationships, be it with Brad Pitt or Charlize Theron or John Malkovich or anyone else that I may have worked with or I'm friendly with, is you don't use them to enhance your own career. You use them because they're right and appropriate creatively for the project you're working on. So I have never once gone to an actor and said, wow, I could really use your prestige to help me sell this project. And one of the reasons I'm friends with these people is they know that I will never phone them to sell them on a project so I can use their fame to profit myself. They know I will phone them because I love them, because I'm concerned for their welfare, or if I'm excited about a project, is to talk to them about creatively, but never to exploit them. So to your very good question, Sarit, I'm sorry to get so emotional because it's a profound memory, and Charlize is very important to me. I would work with her again in a second, but in a project that would be appropriate for both of us. And by the way, maybe she would say, no, I'll never work with Steve Bernstein ever again. I don't think she will.
I hope she does. I hope she doesn't turn you down. I'm working very, very hard on getting her for an upcoming TV show.
Well, she's good people. And the great thing about her, like with Patty, is she makes decisions based on merit. So it's never about whether a project is going to make bags of money or not. It's always about, is this a good project? She's helped out a lot of people. Same thing with Patty. And Patty didn't work for about 3 years after Monster because she didn't like the script she was getting. They were offering her millions, but she has so much integrity. She wanted to do the right project rather than any project. And it's a very important lesson for all of us. Ultimately, what matters is integrity, and integrity ultimately will win out. And if you wait to do the right thing rather than simply cash in, you'll have a much greater success.
Thank you, man. That's awesome. Sarita, did that answer your question? Yep.
Yeah, I think it did. I hope so.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So moving on, man, that was fantastic response. Who's liking these responses? Who's liking these responses? Can we show hands? Awesome, loving it. I saw George Lipton clapping through that response as well. So kudos to you, George. Jeff Lipton. My apologies. Next question. We'll move on before we go into a breakout room. Yeah, straight to Brandon Kappen. Yeah, let's unmute you, brother. Go for your life.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, long time no speak.
I know, right? We need to get you back out here.
Yes, that's happening very, very soon.
What an unusual Australian accent, because I guess parts of Australia sound so like American accents. It's incredible.
Yes. I'm here in LA.
He's in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. And Stephen, thank you for doing this today.
Pleasure.
So my question is a little bit different. What's your most memorable, like, is there anything specific through all the years that you've been filming? Is there anything particular that you have, like a fun story or anything that happened on set that is like the pinnacle of your memory?
Oh man, it's been 100 movies and TV shows and commercials, and you know, there are so many. I mean, I was working on a commercial once with a very famous director in England. I wish I could tell the story in detail. I will in my memoir. And we broke for lunch, and when we came back, the director wasn't there. And we kept setting up and putting lights up, and we thought, well, we'll get a few shots that he might like and things. After about an hour, I get a phone call. No, it was more like 2 hours, because I know that the difference between before we broke to lunch and two, about three and a half hours later, we get a phone call from the director, and the client was freaking out. The agency was freaking out, and we were just trying to cover, because this is a very big commercial. In those days, the commercial budgets were huge. Very famous director who we'd won several Cannes Golden Lions. I shouldn't say that, you'll figure out who it is. Anyway, we had won some awards. And this guy got on the phone with me and said, Steve, this is whoever it was. And I said, where are you? And he said, we're shooting in London. He said, I'm in New York. I said, you're
where?
You're where? And he goes, I said, well, what are you doing there? He goes, well, I got another gig. So I figured you keep shooting there, and I'll be shooting here. Just tell them that that was my choice. And then tomorrow in the evening, I'll come back and we'll keep shooting. And I said, you're never going to pull this off. Yeah. And he said, Bernstein, just keep shooting. And I said, okay. So we kept shooting. The client said, where is it? I said, well, sometimes he likes to do this. He's given me the roadmap, but don't worry, he's going to check everything we're going to do. And the agency said, well, we hired him. I said, I know, but don't worry, we'll figure this out. It's an interesting way of working, but look at all the awards. Surely it works. And they bought it, and we did it. And he flew back the next day, and we finished the commercial. And here's the fantastic thing. We won, the UK ad won the DA&D award. It won the Cannes Golden Lion for commercials. And the US one that he shot won the Clio Award for commercials. And he shot them at the same time. And no one else knows the story except me and all of you, but you don't know who it is. But that was a pretty incredible story. And then there's so many. I've got on Water for Chocolate. We were in deep trouble with financially, and the producer director Alfonso Arau, who's a colorful character who I love, had worked out a very careful budget. And one of the parts of the budget was the petrol, or gas. He could only spend so much for gas each day. And so he had worked out exactly how much gas the school bus we would take, which was from the town of Acuña in northern Mexico to the set, which is out in the middle of the desert, it would take to get there and then back. So, and he would give that amount of gas to the driver, and he would drive us back and then wait next morning to take us, and so on. Well, this driver got hungry during the day and went off and got himself something to eat, but that ruined the mileage calculation. Alfonso didn't know it. So the temperature was like 49 degrees Celsius in the desert, like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're all in the bus with all the gear and everything else. We're in the middle of the desert with scorpions and tarantulas and everything else around us. And the bus stops out of gas. And Alfonso and the driver begin screaming at each other, and a real physical fight ensues. And then we had no choice but to pick up all these heavy cameras, equipment, and everything else. And no cell phones in those days, by the way, at least in the middle of the Mexican desert. And we walked about 6 miles through the desert to where the location was. And then some of the crew, the grips and electrics, pushed the bus.
Wow.
So that was incredible, and I was incredibly angry. And as I left, I said, no one will ever see this movie. I've never been so badly treated. There's some problems I can't get into detail, but with me getting paid, I'm still looking forward to getting paid for that film. And flew back to England and worked on it for 6 months. And then he invited me to New York to do the timing, and we had another kind of a conflab about that because he wouldn't pay for my flight. But and I just said, this guy is crazy. And the other thing that happened during Water for Chocolate, we kept running out of film stock. So he would ring up friends And whatever film they had, they would give us. So some of it was out of date. We were mixing Agfa and Fuji and Kodak, which is something you never do. I didn't know where the film was going to be short ends. It wasn't the whole roll. And we would just be shooting anything we put in the camera. And it was going to the lab, but he couldn't afford to process it. So we had no idea whether it was fogged or ruined or scratched. And it was a mess. And it comes to America, and every reviewer writes a love letter. It goes around the world and wins every single possible award, with the exception of the Oscar, for which it wasn't eligible because it had been submitted the year before. It's a long story. But and the film becomes legend, becomes the highest grossing foreign language film of all time. And everybody kind of built their career, at least in part, on that. So it's a great story, but it also goes to this idea, better to do than to worry. And Alfonso was the ultimate doer. And no matter what anyone said to him, is you got no money, your cast is quitting, you're shooting in the desert, you don't have film stock, he just kept moving forward. And when you create something, at least you have the chance of success. When you live in the imagined world, you have no chance for failure, but no chance for success.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So did that answer your question, Brandon? That was awesome.
It did, yeah. And one real quick one. How social media, how important is that to you? Because I know being in quarantine, something that's helped me, and I guess a lot of other people that I know, I have a big foot in the social media world. So I took like a year off of acting, kind of study it. Like YouTubers and stuff like that, and learn how, filmmakers actually can go through social media and make money on that return investment, and then put it out there and make even more. So how important is social media to you, I guess, would be?
I love what you're doing, Brandon, and anybody here who wants to have some expertise in what Brandon's doing should probably get in touch with him, I imagine. So I think it's very cool. Look,
put your details in the chat box, Brandon. Put your details in the chat box, please.
Yeah. I think it's any form of creative expression is sacred, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be feature films. It doesn't have to be commercials or TV shows. Any way that we reshape the world, that we interpret it, we explain it to others, at least our vision of it, binds us all together. And that's something that we should all do. So that's what I think that's why I think it's important that people involved in social media. That's why I think it's better to do a short than to do nothing. I think it's better to do a 1-minute piece or a 30-second piece, whatever it is, because we all look at it and we understand a little bit of what we are experiencing collectively as a result of your creative vision. I still think that ultimately it's great to do things together and collectively, but however we can engage each other, so much the better. One thing I would say, though, is that we began this discussion, I said that all human interaction is dishonest. And I think it is in part dishonest because we're nervous of what others think of us. And when we're in close proximity with people, we're very nervous. So two things happen. We're both more inclined to lie and more inclined to tell the truth. What I mean is this, is that we lie or we misrepresent because we want to be liked, we want to be loved, we want to be accepted. So we will characterize ourselves in a way that may not be accurate. At the same time, when we're right next to somebody, we're less inclined to, insult them. We're less inclined to, act out. We're less inclined to do those things where we're dealing with imagined people rather than with the real people, because there's a connection. So what I see a lot of on the internet is things that are cruel or dishonest, trolling in particular. And my partner is very, very political about this very important upcoming presidential election. And she always supports everything she says with detailed, complex information. She researches it, she tells the truth. She doesn't impose her opinion on anybody, but says, look, here's the scientific information. Here's the actual recording of what actually occurred. Now make your own judgment. But rather than people just to be engaged and saying, I agree or I disagree, they make ad hominem personal attacks on her, which I can't help but observe they would never make if they were directly opposite her. Not only is she very beautiful and smart, but also she's a human being, and we tend to be kinder to human beings when they're in our presence. So I see the advantage of the internet, and I think it's a great tool and a great platform. But at the same time, I think we should always do the brave thing, and in rank order, it's always better to see people than to phone them. It's always better to phone them than to email them. It's always better to email them than to text them. And it's always better to text them than to engage them on just a general social media site. So,
Right.
see people if you can, but still anything that allows you to create is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Brendan. You're a
Yeah,
legend, man. Check him out. Check him out. He's got his details in the chat box. Guys, we're going to have a quick intermission. I can't work out how to do the breakout rooms because I'm not tech savvy. I'm old school, a little bit like that. So what we're going to do here, because we're sitting for a period of time, are you guys okay with this for the next 2 minutes? We're just going to go through a series of movements with our body because I'm a personal training background. So I'm getting a bit of a bad back right now just sitting here. So I'd like you guys to just roll your shoulders around. Let's just free up our bodies a little bit. Is that okay? Yeah, we'll just roll our shoulders around, have a bit of a stretch. Just move our bodies because we don't want to keep static. And then we'll jump straight into the rest of the session and asking plenty of, questions. It's amazing, Stephen. Amazing. This has been, hands up if you're enjoying this. I'm enjoying it. Stephen is so super insightful, super wise, such experience. We're going to throw some more questions at you, Stephen, if that's okay. How are you feeling, Stephen, right now?
I'm feeling great. I got to tell you, I love you, Joey. But it's the first time anyone's ever done stretching during one of my lectures. I think it's fantastic. So that's great. But no one can write 1 2 1 2 1 2 while they're stretching. So it's a difficult.
Well, it's important to move, right? We're accentuating the movement here.
I'm always interested in other people. I don't judge. I'm just saying it's a first. That's cool.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. So jumping out. Robyn, do you want to pick another person or to have a question?
I don't know who else is on. So does anyone
I'll ask. I might ask a quick question before we continue because we will throw it back to everybody.
Just the chat box. Can I
just say, David Tolk just wrote that he's got a project picked up for the US and Canada. Yeah. And he says rather hilariously, when should I expect a call from agents begging me to work with them? David, I think that would be great if that happened. It's been tough for the agencies right now. Just some of the biggest agencies have just laid off huge numbers of their staff because they can't earn money because their clients aren't earning money. So they're not out there actively looking for people right now. But I would say this, don't wait for the call. If you have sold a project for the US and Canada to a streaming service or wherever it is, I would phone the agents up and say this, I've got this project, it's just been sold. I'd like you to represent me. And by the way, represent me on this project I've already sold, even though you had nothing to do with it. You can take your commission. I just need you to complete the contract for me and it's yours. I ask nothing in return. It's a great way to get to an agency because they love projects that are already done and already financed and their commission is guaranteed. It seems counterintuitive because you're giving money away. But once the agent has earned money from you and they know that you're making projects that succeed, they will then find you projects where you can get the money rather than them getting this gift from you. So I always say to people looking for agents, the minute you're employed, ring the agent up and say, I've got a job already. Would you just represent the negotiation? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes. It's a great way to get an agent.
That's wonderful.
I know all the tricks.
Wonderful. So Stephen, you've been in. You do. You're very insightful. And speaking to you behind the scenes, you're even more insightful. I'm super privileged for that opportunity. You've been in Hollywood for quite some time now. No. Just having the privilege on a one-on-one is an outstanding experience. So you've been in Hollywood for quite some time now. Over the last decade, what's the one thing that you've taken out of Hollywood? The one thing.
I can't say this. I'd love to answer your question and say there's one thing. There isn't ultimately one thing. I would say the most valuable lesson that I carry with me everywhere, and maybe I got it from my experience on these 100 projects or so, is that ultimately nothing's as bad as it seems. Nothing's as good as it seems. And it's really much of your future is determined by your attitude rather than by your circumstances. Everybody will probably succeed and fail in equal measure. It's your ability to get up again and to continue that will really ultimately decide whether you find the satisfaction and emotional stability that you seek. I have failed many times and spectacularly. I have made bad judgments repeatedly. But the one thing that people always characterize me as, or when they talk about me, is like a dog with a bone that I don't quit. When I was putting money together for Decoding Annie Parker, which was a film about cancer, so not a film that was exciting a lot of the Hollywood community. But I just wouldn't quit. I just kept going to people for money. I kept speaking to agents. I kept speaking to actors. I kept doing rewrites on the script. And then people began reading the script. And before I knew it, Helen Hunt read it and said she loved the script. And she asked me if she could be involved. I got it to Samantha Morton with her 2 Oscar nominations. And Helen Hunt, of course, got an Oscar win. And then she agreed to be it. Then Aaron Paul, who was the hottest actor in America, read the script. And he wanted to be in it. And suddenly, after just a mere 5 years of my life, I put together this film with this huge cast. I remember someone saying to me, some press person visited the film and said, "You're so lucky. There's so many people out there trying to make films, and you got lucky because you got this cast." 5 years running around, raising every single penny and getting that cast and turning down film after film to work on this particular project. And that was the luck. It's your ability to keep going forward despite the setbacks, to not get mired in despair, to not create a repeating and circular narrative a mantra that you say to yourself over and over again. I will fail, it's catastrophic, this disaster is going to happen, that disaster is going to happen. No, it's not. A different disaster will happen, but not the one you imagine. But to spend any time worrying, even if you're worrying about the wrong thing. But if you have an attitude that you'll keep going and that you will succeed, and most importantly, that you are honest with yourself. I love positive thinking, but not when it's based on dishonesty. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm having a really bad day, I feel terrible, but let me try to extract something good from this. That to me is what a positive attitude is about, which is trying to find something of value in all the experiences, some of which may not be joyful or positive ones, but extract something of it that makes you better in the future.
That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. Wow. I'm blown away. Who's blown away? Yeah, I keep asking to raise your hands. Yes, absolutely. Loving this. So let's shout out to someone. Robyn, do you want to pick another person for a question?
Yeah,
Anyone,
I can't.
Put your hand up if you'd like to ask a question.
Maybe someone can pop it in the chat box as to what they want to ask, and I'll select from there.
Okay. Yeah. Fire away, guys, in the chat box, and Robyn will read out your beautiful questions. So yeah, just so you know, guys, this is as a preparation to exit this meeting at 12 o'clock in 40 minutes, roughly. Stephen, you've been so great so far. We're hoping you're okay. You're okay to go the next 40 minutes.
I hope I don't blow it in the last 40 minutes. That would be terrible.
Yeah, you'd be fine. So I'm truly excited, guys. But just to plant the seed, this is not you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this, guys, but I'll pop a link by the end of this. Sorry, Robyn.
I didn't interrupt you, but I just saw a great question from Trevor Rose. So carry on with what you're saying, Joe, and then I'd like to answer.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, absolutely. So just quickly, contribution, guys. Stephen's here to contribute and give to you guys, giving value. If you've seen value, I'll pop a link at the end. Just give $10, $5. It's all going to charity. It's going to the American Cancer Society and A Start in Life in Australia. So all the money that's donated, it will be going to charity, just as a thank you, $5 or $10 or whatever you can give. And there's no expectations, absolutely none. Stephen's coming here with no expectations, and he's giving you guys.
It's not coming to me or to us. The American Cancer Society is very important to us. When we did Decoding Annie Parker, we helped to do with a particular type of virulent cancer called, it's based on the BRCA1 mutation, which causes a type of breast cancer with a very high morbidity rate. And nobody knew that it had a link to people's genome with genetics. And through the work of a remarkable geneticist named Mary Claire King, who researched the thing for over 10 years, she discovered this link and changed our understanding not of that cancer, but of all cancers. And it's something that we felt important, a story worth telling, Decoding Annie Parker. And we raised millions for charities for Mary Claire King's research. And of course, Mary Claire King went on to get the American President's Medal of Science. And there's also a Supreme Court ruling to do with the patenting of the the genomic sequence that we could discover whether women had a predisposition to such cancer. It had been that American women had to pay for it, and a rather large sum of money. So there's a disproportionate number of poor women who were dying of this type of breast cancer, and wealthier women weren't, which is simply immoral. So we are delighted that the case ended up in the Supreme Court. We ended up being interviewed by National Public Radio and others, having brought attention to this matter. And the Supreme Court reversed the ruling of a lower court, and it became free to every American woman there is, as it is already throughout the rest of the world. So we like to think that fewer people are dying as a result, in some small part to our efforts. So we had worked with the American Cancer Society on the rollout of that film because I insisted that not only would it have a commercial release, which it did, but that it would also have a release to the charity to help raise money for them, which is unique, I think, in American release history. And we did very well for them. So the film's quite old now. It's 5-6 years old now, but we're still trying to do what we can. So no obligation. These are difficult times financially, but if you are going to make a contribution at the end of this, then not to me or to Joey or anybody else, but to the American Cancer Society would be great. So sorry for that commercial interruption. Carry on.
Can I just?
No, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Joey will have, I think Stephen wanted Trevor Rose, and then I saw Chris Cheney, and those from Australia. Chris is the lead singer of, or one of the, I think the lead singer of The Living End, and he lives in LA, and he's
big shout out. Big shout out.
There's a big shout out to Chris. He's an international band. He's from Melbourne, Australia. Those Australians, he's a rock band, Living End, and he's very well known, and amazing to have you on here, Chris. He does live in LA, and yeah, so it's Emma, so it's his wife. So we'll go from Trevor, and then we'll go to Emma/Chris.
Trevor just asked about script formatting and says that script formatting seems kind of archaic, and there's all these rules that you read, and when should you break the rules? Immediately. You know, and Trevor's absolutely right. There are way too many rules put forward. For some reason with script, there are all these gurus and people saying, you've got to do it this way, and you got to do it that way, and in a particular way. Now, you know, if you're sending it to a studio, the studio plans to do a very quick read on whatever you sent them. And if it's out of the format they anticipate, they may not read it. So I put that caveat on this, is that there's a danger. But like I was saying with the presentation documents, don't follow all the other rules about log lines and all the other non-process. It is an art. And no art should follow orthodoxies. So whatever works to serve your ideas and will engage the audience the way you want them to be engaged, that's the way you should do it. You can't look at a film like Moulin Rouge, for example, and say this is somebody who's following the traditional rules of filmmaking. Or if you know a writer named Charlie Kaufman, a hero of mine, he completely disagrees with the concept of the traditional 3 acts.
Structures that everybody suggests. Can you guys still hear me? My headphones died. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So that's why I would suggest reading Charlie Kaufman. Hear Charlie Kaufman's lectures to the BAFTA Institute, which is fantastic, about different ways of approaching script. And yes, I would say part of being an artist is not only and should be radical in your form as well as your content. So violate the rules. And yes, some people will reject it and say, what are you doing? And we read the thing you sent us. And yet some they may say, oh, what a brilliant and imaginative way to present something. Please come in and speak to us and we might finance it. I'd rather succeed by breaking the rules than failing creatively because I'm following things that inhibit me in terms of my expression and my spontaneity, which is essential to the creative process.
Wow, that's fantastic. So who is the next question, Robyn?
So I believe it's Chris's wife, Emma Cheney.
Awesome. In the chat box, Emma Cheney.
Can we have her
so she's
up?
written something.
We get her.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me find her in the wonderful squares around everywhere. Emma Cheney, where
It'll
are
be
you?
under. I think she's under Chris Cheney, her husband.
Okay, Chris Cheney. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Stephen, you could just chat about something while I'm finding.
Well, I hear an actress, Mariana.
Here we go. Found her. Sorry to cut you off. I found
Welcome back
her.
to Marina.
Hi,
Yeah.
Hi, Christine. Beautiful pink shirt. Here we go. Ask to unmute. Here we go. Hang on.
Oh,
Hang on. There we go. Unmuted. Hi, Chris. Genie
Hi.
/ partner.
it's Emma, otherwise logged in as Chris. I don't have a question, but just really quickly, really interesting to read all the comments and to listen to everyone, and just the positivity is awesome. I've had a couple of scripts that have been lying dormant for some time, and I think the pandemic has just been an incredible opportunity to revisit and just take certain elements from life that have presented themselves to us and just sort of realign and reprioritize everything. So seeing other people out there and just being productive and positive is awesome, and absolutely love your work, Stephen, and thank you, Robyn, for bringing everyone together for this. So it's really nice to see the community still active and out there, and thanks to everyone.
Awesome.
Especially those dogs, especially the dogs behind you going crazy. They're awesome. They're awesome.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, by the way, which is to keep writing, keep working while this is going on. We don't know what's going to happen in the end of it, but we know that everyone's going to be working. I'll tell you this also about the film industry, those of you who are in film. We have a shortage of material right now. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Mobi, everybody needs material, and very few things are being made. So what's going to happen is when this finishes, there's going to be a huge demand for scripts, for technicians, for artists, for actors, for actresses, for music, for everything. Are we going to be ready for that? How tragic would it be that if suddenly there's a vaccine on November the 1st, which I have a funny feeling that's when it's going to magically appear for some reason. For those of us in America will know why. Then everybody is cured magically, hopefully. And then the industry is back at work, say, by January, and they turn to us collectively and say, where are your scripts? And we said, well, we meant to write one for the last 6 months, but we were depressed. I would rather think that we can be certain that we're going to be in demand come January, and let's be ready. Let's have 2 scripts ready, write every single day. And if it's painful, and remember Dorothy Parker, I think definition of a writer is someone who doesn't like to write. So by all means, sit down and write that painful script, because even if the script isn't good, the process of you writing it is good for you. So I say to my students, write 1 or 2 pages each day, and you'll be amazed in 2 months the script will be finished. Better still, use the slop draft process, which is write badly and write a screenplay in 4 days. Write the worst script you can. Believe me, all of it. Just think, someone mentioned earlier about the internet and emails. If you take all your emails and put them end to end over 2 days, I bet you've written a screenplay in terms of the word count. So if you can write emails, you can write a script. It's just you think more about a script than you do about your emails. Stop thinking. Just write intuitively and quickly. Get it down on a page. Get 120 pages of absolute rubbish, and then read it. And I promise you, in reading that screenplay, you will discover ideas you didn't know were within you, but are. You'll come to an understanding of your character, and your second draft, which will be much easier, will be also much better. That's what I recommend.
Wow. Fantastic. So did we say we're going to ask someone else a question, or are you going to look at the chat box, or how about this?
Marina, I think, said not arrived, but I wanted to write something for myself to be able to record a scene to show my talent. I find it harder to find work during COVID and wanted to do something this time. Do you have any advice? First of all, I love that that you're doing a scene. I think that's a great idea, and I think I would do lots of them. And if you can't do a scene that you write yourself, you'll find that there are a lot of sites that have all the screenplays that have been made over the last 10 or 15 years online. So you can find any scene from any film that you can imagine, and you'll find it and you can use it as a sample. And some of these films are ones that a lot of people haven't seen, so it'll be fresh to your potential viewers. You can also find on the Blacklist, I believe it's called, well, it is called the Blacklist. I don't know if they publish all their scripts still, but films that are considered the best screenplays for films that haven't been made yet. So they go to agencies read them, love them, but they haven't been made. So they give an award to the best unmade screenplays. And if you get a hold of those each year, it's called the Blacklist. You find some great screenplays that no one's seen yet. So you can act out a scene from that or a monologue, and it's a great way to show your skills and your abilities. But if specifically you want to write something for yourself, then do, and make it. And it helps. Believe me, I have discovered actors through, I shouldn't say discovered, but I became aware of their abilities because of things that I saw in very unusual places. When I was in London, I used to go to the small theater companies all the time and found actors that way. I still love theater, and we go to theater less than we used to, certainly recently not at all, but and found actors that way. I see films all the time, big and small, and I watch them, short films sometimes, documentaries sometimes, commercials sometimes, and I find actors that way. So doing something is always better than doing nothing. Don't hesitate, do it. And again, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It's always better to do something than to do nothing.
Fantastic. Fantastic. There's a couple of good questions up there by Phil Moore and Morgan Page. Can I just read out Phil Moore's one? I'm a writer/director. In your experience as a DP, can I ask your thoughts on the director/DOP relationship?
It's a long and complicated question because
yeah, that's a good one.
although a good question, although I started as a writer and I'm known, I guess, by a lot of people for my theater work. I just became a DP after the BBC, and then did a lot of famous music videos, then commercials, then feature films, and so on. Somehow went down a road that I never anticipated going down. Then later went back to directing. So I've been a writer, a producer, an actor, a director, and of course a cinematographer. And if there's one unique thing about my life experience is seeing the same jobs from all these different perspectives. I'm writing a new book, which will be coming out early next year, called Creative Process. But we're previewing it with a series of articles that I'm writing for the Sony magazine. So maybe we'll send a link to people later, or I'll send it to Joey and you can forward it to everybody.
Absolutely.
But I wrote a long article, a 5-part article, about the relationship between the DP and the director. So I'd love everyone to read that.
Yeah.
And later we're setting up a web page with all my lectures and all the articles and my other books and clips of my films so that people can access all these things as well. But basically, the key thing in all this is that a lot of focus in Hollywood is on the script. And you will hear from people who write these books about screenwriting that everything relies on story. It's all about story. We're all storytellers. Everything should be focused on story. And I kind of disagree with that. I think ultimately it's about engagement with audience. And we engage an audience in all different sorts of ways. If we're doing a painting, we're not telling a story. If we create a musical composition, we're not telling a story, except the most arguable of stretches. When we're doing dance, we're not necessarily telling a story. Yes, story is sometimes used in theater and sometimes not, by the way, because there's all sorts of theater that is non-narrative. And we sometimes use it in film, which dominates the form, but it doesn't have to. You can be non-narrative as well. This isn't to say that you shouldn't use story, by all means use it, but also recognize that really what film is language. Spoken language, we take an idea, we encode it through words. All of us recognize the words as symbolic of an idea, generally. When we say love, it can mean a lot of different things. We have modifiers and adverbs and everything else. We never can exactly communicate via the coda of speech what we mean wholly. But we have to recognize the process is thought, then the encoding of language, the hearing of language, and the decoding. That is the creative exchange. In film, we can use spoken language, which is one form. But hey, if I take a composition and put a character all the way on the edge of the composition and have them looking away from the area of potential action where we anticipate action happening here, that character can seem alienated, isolated, vulnerable, all those things just by the composition. When I compose a character in very, very close, then the slightest nuance of performance is amplified. And so the camera is changing our experience of the performance. If they're very, very small and they're way back, then that performance is, again, modulated in a different way and reduced. And some of the shape of the body is more significant than the expression on the face. Are these things irrelevant? Is it still only about the words? No. We're using the language of composition or of camera or of lighting. I could do a hard side light here or an underlight or just a backlight. Think of Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now when he's unlit. All these things are ways of encoding and eliciting an emotional reaction in our audience that have to do with the visual language of film. Well, the cinematographer is kind of in charge of the visual language and really is just one part of the team that works with the director, but it's a very key part of the filmmaking process. So what is principal to their collaboration is taking the ideas the director wants to express to an audience and encoding them through the visual part of the medium, and that's what the DP does. The most important time for that collaboration is in the pre-production before the film begins, where they can sit down and the DP can say to the director, what do you intend for the scene? What do you want the audience to feel? What do you want them to think? Not just what information do you want them to convey, because not everything is exposition, but what do you want them to feel emotionally? What do you want them to understand intellectually and spiritually? And then the DP can develop the coda, be it lighting or camera movement or camera position or composition, to determine how they can encode those ideas so the audience can feel what the director wants them to feel. It's more complicated than that, but I hope that's a beginning to an understanding.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Show of hands again, or a round of applause so far. If we're like engagement is incredible. Can I get some ones? Can I get some twos? Can I get some sixes, sevens, whatever you want to throw out there? Stephen, pick it. Do you want to actually bring someone on the camera as well? Pick someone. Do you want to show of hands, guys, if you'd like to say put a question, and Stephen can pick who he would like to answer a question.
That will seem like a judgment, and I like everyone equally. There's some very interesting faces. There are people who are younger than me, but approaching my age, who look really interesting. Brian looks a very interesting person. Keith does as well. These are people who I recognize that have life experience. So I love life experience. It's too little valued in Hollywood. So let me pick Jeff because he looks a very interesting soul, and I'll get as many others as I can.
Jeff. Yes. I'm going to ask you unmute. So Jeff, if you can just hit the unmute button.
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Jeff. Yes.
Yeah, we can, Jeff, yeah. Hi
there. Good day, Stephen. Nice to speak with you. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm just curious whether, assuming you went to college, whether you were studying for something quite different to what you finally went into, and if that's the case, what drifted you from what attracted you from what you were originally going to do to what you ended up doing? Were you in fact qualified for something else first?
Absolutely, great question, and absolutely the case. By the way, my heroes in the industry are always people who've done one thing and then end up doing something else. Jonathan Miller, for example, Cambridge grad, became a doctor, a medical doctor, and then became very interested in opera and theater, and directed some of those important theatrical pieces that we ever saw in London. So that's a great example. And what I like and what I adore is this idea that we're using different parts of our brain, and we have different sensibilities that we combine to become the most full of artists that we can become. So it'll sound like I ended up doing what I intended to do, but I didn't. I was originally interested in philosophy. My degrees in language philosophy, semiotics and structuralism. I meant to be an academic. And then maybe a writer writing very turgid, inaccessible, and uninteresting, academic, treatise. I probably still do things that are very uninteresting, but not my intended, profession. And then I was seduced by the desire for audience and getting the number ones and twos and so on that we get in different ways.
Loves the ones and twos.
Ended up at the BBC and first working on the writing and side, and then director DPs they used to have then that would go out in the field and long form documentary, and then the music videos came along and I shot some music videos which got a lot of attention, and I was suddenly on a different road. But what Jeff is going to, I think, is significant is that really for us as artists, our obligation is not to only develop one skill set or a skill set or vocation, like a lot of people in Hollywood go to a film school and they can only do that. I think the most interesting writers and filmmakers and thinkers and people are people who've had several different lives. People who, what's her name, Dakota, who wrote Juno, had a very interesting and complex life before she became a writer. And some of the most interesting people I know and some of the best writers had other lives before they became writers or directors or actors. And those are the people that I'm drawn to most often. So I think it's an obligation, it's incumbent on us to live as many different lives as possible, and then arrive at a place we can look back on our lives and make observations about our shared condition.
Okay. I think I think I was the first question that you responded to. I told you very briefly that I'd written a film script, and you explained how you don't read them for reasons in case someone makes something similar. I understood all that. But I think you said you did like the premise of what I wrote to you.
I did.
And I've had some good feedback from people in the industry, but so far haven't had a producer to hop on board to actually get the thing made. I wonder whether, even if it's privately, not necessarily during this Zoom meeting, whether you're able to guide me to anyone that you think that particular premise might appeal to.
Well,
because it's not been, I could say it's not been done before, the two characters that I mentioned. There's never been a film made combining those two cultures. So it is something original from that point of view. But I might just mention that the actual film is a homage to the old road to pictures that Hope and Crosby used to make in the 40s. It's actually a homage to them.
Well, look, I can't, because of the position that I'm in, and particularly in a public forum like this, we're already, my poor little staff here deals with a couple hundred scripts each month that people send to us, and we make a point of writing back to each person saying, we're very sorry, but we can't read it. And if I was to agree this with you right now, I would have another 55 people write to me. With no respect to you or anybody else. What I can do is, I'm quite willing to have Joey give you my email, and I can give you some general notes about processes, but I can't fairly advise you to go to any individual. That individual will never forgive me, it also, I would have to explain to all the other people that I've turned down why I did that. And by the way, all concepts are interesting. It's in the execution that really determines whether a thing's good or not. So I will give you some general advice because you've joined us here on the forum, and I hope that will be helpful. I hope that's okay for you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, sorry. Oh, unmute. Sorry. Was that okay?
No, I was just saying thank you very much for that. And I'll, either Robyn or Joseph can give you perhaps an email address or something, and I'd appreciate anything you can send to me.
Yeah, we'll drop some details at the end of this session. We'll hang around, Robyn and I, to answer any other questions or anything else we can help.
I should say to everybody that we are, to address this very issue that Jeff brings up. By the way, his idea is a great one, but just because an idea is great doesn't mean the script's not going to be great. He's got a long way to go, but it's funny and it's amusing, and it might have some mileage. We'll see. But we are, Carolyn and I, my partner and our team here. I make it sound like I'm going to be doing the work. I won't be doing the work. I'll just be taking the credit. That's the way the film industry works. We will be setting up a webpage for people to access us or me more specifically. Sometimes I'm spread thin. I'm very well intentioned. I feel that I have to give back, but of course I have my own obligations. I'm writing not one but 2 TV series right now under commission, and the pressure is intense, and I'm constantly letting. Please understand that it's not that I lack good intentions; it's that I'm spread a bit thin. But that being said, we are setting up this webpage, and people will be able to subscribe, I guess, and then access me at certain regular times each month. So we're aware of the demand and the need, and we want to balance it against my professional commitments with my moral obligations to help others. So bear with us, and we'll announce through Joey and Robyn when we do it and how you can reach us, and I will do all that I can to do the right thing.
Absolutely, and just to segue on that, guys, the way I came in contact with Stephen was by following him on Instagram, because he's very active on Instagram. He posts very regularly and very insightfully. Like today's post, I just looked at it, was a John Wick the Third, I think it was John Wick 3. It was a behind the scenes footage, and Stephen and I that's how I've gained sort of momentum.
I give free instruction on Instagram. It's usually just like a little 1 minute or 5 minute piece, sometimes longer interviews. And I'll take a scene from a movie and I'll say how it was shot. or I'll look at a particular scene and talk about the script and the way it was constructed. So I try to be concise and of value so people can look at it for a couple of minutes, learn something, and I try to post something each day. Again, I must say, and I've mentioned everyone in the team here, but it's too many, but other people together for me and pop me in front of a camera or a microphone or ask me to write something, and I do it. I'm not always doing the labor, but I hope I'm providing the insight. And we try to do that each day. And we're going to expand that as best we can without putting too great a bonus on my time.
Absolutely. And just so you know, guys out there, he does respond to your comments. That's how we became in contact. He actually takes his time when he can, you know, like on his on his Instagram feed. Okay, so a bit of pressure there for you, Stephen, to keep up with your new fan base here.
Can we get Paul up? He was just asking about the casting process and the acting side. So we might just flip it a little bit and get some of the actors and the casting process.
I love actors first among all others, so please ask away.
So it's,
yes. Okay, so Paul Jagger, was it? Paul Talbot. Sorry, let me look for you. Paul Talbot. Hey, brother, I'm about to ask you to unmute.
Paul only gave me only 1-1, so I don't know if I want to. All
right. In a bird from 10, so one's like the best.
Hey, Paul, welcome,
thank you so much for giving the time to make this readily available for us, for the wealth of knowledge, and giving back as well. That's something that I think we should all pride ourselves on. For every break and opportunity we get to give back. So I love, thank you so much. As an actor, so the final casting process, I get shortlisted, just don't quite get it. But with the processes, you know how, so I'll look at a script and I'll just make it completely mine. So I'll see it in completely different ways. Some people go, holy crap, I never saw it written that way, but I really like it. Is there any advice from you? From what do you see when you see the casting process? Like, how do you pick the ones towards the end?
You're doing exactly the right thing, which I would recommend, which is, there's no right. So often actors will come in thinking, I wonder what that director wants. I'll do it the way the director wants, so I'll get the gig. What every director wants, including me, is an actor who takes risks, who comes in and owns the room and does a take on the character that I didn't imagine. That is hugely valuable to me because it gives me an insight into the character. It gives me an insight into the actor's courage, and I am more inclined to hire those actors than others. The second thing I always do, though, is I will then give that actor notes. Not that I think what they did was wrong, but what is important to me, and virtually every other director, I'm sure you know this, is how well an actor takes notes. So I'll never be prescriptive. I'll never say, do it this way, but I will give you adjustments. Saying, Paul, you know the process, where I'll say, right, let's say that you can't say this to her because she has a terrible temper. And if you push these buttons, she's going to explode. So can you express that idea and convince her to do this, because you're trying to convince her, but without letting her get angry. So let me see how you would do it that time. And it's not even important how you do it. I just want to see an adjustment or change in the performance. So those are the two things that are valuable to me. But obviously, you're going to be even more successful or successful, wherever you are in your career right now, because you're doing the exact right thing. If you go in trying to anticipate what a director wants, you'll pretty much always get it wrong, and you won't be owning the character. To me, everything's about backstory. And what I do on my films is I give actors long imagined backstories for each character that they can draw on. And then I ask the actors to build on that. And then they can create the character based on their past experiences. And I don't set them up. I don't give backstories that are tied into the narrative. So, you're going to do something bad, so I'm going to give you a trauma so you can draw on that. I just do wholly arbitrary and mundane details about your childhood, your adolescence, your first girlfriend, whatever it is. And then you build from that. Well, I always say to an actor, even going for an audition, build a backstory, because you'll find yourself doing things that you won't even imagine you're doing when you're doing that second reading or third reading or whatever it is, because suddenly your intuitions and your organic process will take you in a direction based on that backstory that you've created. But what you're doing right now, Paul, is exactly right. Smart, brave, and will ultimately lead to success. Good job.
Fantastic. I hope that answers your question, Paul. Does that answer your question?
Oh, that definitely answers my question, because even with self-tapes, create a whole different background before you go into the performance. That way it gives you the energy you need and everything makes sense. And even the ending. So I add a little ending on top. So I just keep going off to end the scene as well. That way, just say if it were in the audition room, you would then say cut when you're ready to cut to see where I'm going to take it to. Or
where are you based, Paul? You're in Australia?
Sydney, yeah.
Sydney.
That's awesome. So guys, sorry.
And do you these ones you go for, is it through casting directors? Are there certain known casting directors in Sydney that call you in regularly, or these open auditions, or how are you getting these gigs?
I'm getting a few from casting directors, but mostly independent people too. That sort of, it's funny. It's like once I get seen by someone that's not with the casting agencies, they see what I'm capable of doing, and then they call me in all the time.
Right.
But, I haven't actually got in the big room with the other guys yet, because I haven't had the
all your instincts are right, because independent films, the minute you get a good gig and you can get that reel based on a film with all the lighting and everything else, then immediately those go to casting directors. And once you get on a casting director's approved list, and this would happen with Mary Vanus, I guess one of the biggest casting directors in the world, and I'd be casting away, and Mary would say, Stephen, before you go, there's just 2 or 3 people outside I want you to meet. They weren't on my list. I hadn't seen the tapes, whatever. But she knew that she liked them, and she brought them in, and I would speak to them. And before I knew it, in one case, I actually hired a guy in one of my films, and I think kind of built a career based on it. It was just because Mary liked him and had seen some of his stuff, and he was relentless in knocking on her door and sending her tapes. And that's how he got in a major feature film with Oscar-winning actors. So keep at it. You're doing the right thing, brother.
Yeah, because the 2 last workshops I went to just to get to know the casting directors, I did the both in 2 takes. So I did the prep. So I did the different options that you could play the characters from what I felt I owned them. And then you can see and work with other people too, knowing that within 15 to 20 takes I would have got there, but I got there within the first or second, third, like you said, taking the risks. But like the first one was off, a TV show called Neighbours, and I mean, with my look, they wouldn't have any characters there, unfortunately, So some of the workshops I'm going to, they just haven't developed that look, that caters to my character yet. So I think like America's probably an opportunity there for ethnic sort of diversity within there. But
yeah, I feel you, man. I'm hearing you as well.
Very big in America with thank God, and finally, and it's a good point. But yeah, taking risks is what I advise to everyone to do. Better to fail spectacularly than to be safe and never succeed at all. So take the risks, you're doing all the right thing. And I think you got a great look. So maybe someday you'll be reading for me. That would be great in Los Angeles.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's awesome. And segueing.
I love Australia, so I'd love to come.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, we're bringing you here soon, Stephen. Don't
Actually,
we?
just adding on that, Stephen, how important is it for the actors? I mean, there's a lot of Australians here who want to get and Hollywood. Do you deal with them if they were in Australia? I'm talking when everything's fine and we don't have travel restrictions, or is it better for them to be on the ground running in LA? How do you deal with international actors?
Well, look, again, this is going to how all communication is essentially dishonest, because what I want to say is, don't worry if you're in Australia, send the tape and I still might cast you. And I might, or some other director might cast you. But honestly, you have a better chance of getting a role in a Hollywood film if you're in Los Angeles. I'm sorry, but it's the case. Doesn't mean it's exclusive or absolute, but people in Hollywood get work in Hollywood, and for all sorts of odd reasons. When I had been in England for a long time, although I was actually born in America, and I came back, I knew nobody here. Now, I had the film that been done very well at the box office, which helped, but still I didn't know anybody. But I just began bumping into people in the industry, did some little independent films. They introduced me to other people. And before I knew it, I was working on a film with a production manager who was kind of awful and I didn't like, but she liked me. And then she said, oh, there's a young director out of New York who's looking for a DP. Do you want to meet him? And I met this guy called Noah Baumbach. And we hit it off immediately. I did his first 3 films, and Noah went on to get 2 Oscar nominations and did The Squid and the Whale and a bunch of other really important films. We did some important films together. And that was just randomly because I was in Los Angeles. Had I been in London or Australia or anywhere else, I wouldn't have gotten that gig. So yeah, it's probably a good idea to come out here if you can, but then you have to be in Los Angeles, which is Los Angeles. And that's a whole different story.
That segues to another question, Stephen, because Robyn and I chat frequently about that. You know, Robyn's in that position now, and sorry for speaking on your behalf, but
That's
I'm going to
okay.
ask this question on my behalf as well as interest for most people in Australia. You know, when's the best time to come in this current predicament? You know, like Robyn's been contemplating it, and we're chatting all the time about it.
Well, the best time to come is when the COVID vaccine is available on November the 1st, or whenever it's going to.
That's
whenever
fantastic.
It's going to,
We've got about 4 minutes left of your precious time, and
whenever it's going to be. I would say wait for the thing to finish, and then out here. Look, always when you have to make a decision. If I've only got 4 minutes, let me say this: make the brave decision. If the thing preventing you from doing something is imagine failures and imagine catastrophes and things that you can't be certain of. If you can't be certain about the future, you can't be certain the future is full of failure and danger. Always take risks. And when you take a risk, you may not get what you want, but you'll get something of value. But please don't live in fear. Don't let fear consume your soul, and don't let it be involved in your decision making. It's sort of like I've got a beautiful son who's now 36 years old, which I guess shows how old I am. But I remember my wife, who passed some years ago, and I were trying to decide when the best time to have a child was. And we kept saying, well, I got this film coming up, we got that coming up, and this coming up. And then finally just decided we're just going to go ahead and do it. And my God, why did we delay as long as we did? He's been a joy every day he's been on this earth. Having a child and having a career, making a film or doing something creative, all these things are sacred decisions and should be made bravely, carelessly, without any guarantee of what the future will hold, but better to do something than to live in fear.
Wow. Can we get a round of applause for Stephen, guys? Just wrapping up this session in a couple of minutes. You know, Stephen, I'll just give you opportunity to tell.
There's something I've just got to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone from Buffalo. Have you ever met David Milch? He's from Buffalo, and his father was also a doctor. Yes, David Milch and my father were close friends. David Milch's father and my father were close friends. David Milch was very close friends with my brother Mark, who's a doctor, and I met David a few times in Los Angeles. A great writer, and why Buffalo's produced so many writers, I don't know. Probably because we have nothing else to do except look at the snow. But yes, something you should ask. But David Milch is a great Buffalo, expat, because it's like another country.
Fantastic. I'd love to give you the opportunity right now to wrap up with the Last Call, the film that you've just directed, and invite people to look forward to that, if that's okay, and any other projects that you're looking forward to distributing.
Yeah, I wrote and directed a film originally called Dominion, now called Last Call. It stars my friend John Malkovich, who you will know, Risa Fons, who's a hugely gifted actor playing the role of Dylan Thomas, Roma Gary, a very talented British actress, Tony Hale, a very famous American actor, Zosha Mamet, who's the daughter of David Mamet, a friend of mine and the playwright, and Rodrigo Santoro, the very talented Brazilian actor. It's about Dylan Thomas, the poet's last days on this earth. It's about someone drinking themselves to death, as Dylan Thomas did, 18 double scotches, and as he takes each drink in this the White Horse Tavern in New York on one afternoon and evening, he names the drink after some insight he's gained or some experience he's had in his life. And the drunker he gets, the more active his imagination, and the more uncertain he is as to what is real and what isn't, and what he remembers and what he sees in his imagination. They all blend together in kind of a surreal, poetical, risk-taking movie. The film took a while to make, to get made, ran into some, we had some great success when it first came out, and then the producers all began arguing with each other and so on, and then it got delayed, and now it's finally going to get released right as COVID started. So the film's going to come out very, very soon. To me, it's my magnum opus, it's my masterpiece, it's the best thing I've ever written or directed, and the cast was magical. We took great risks, and I think it's something very, very special. So we'll start posting clips soon. I hope you go to see it, and I'll be discussing it online, and I hope you can all engage that with me as the film reaches its fruition. And the last thing I want to say is just that I do this specifically to give back to people. I am empathic. When I said that I suffered and failed at the beginning of this, I mean it. I have suffered and I have failed. And the great thing about suffering and failure is it makes you understand what other people are going through. That is what art is supposed to be about, and what filmmaking is about, is building this bridge between our experiences, to tell each of us that we are not alone, and we're not. So I'm here as a fellow human being on the same journey as you, and I will give as much as I'm capable of giving, and hope that I can offer some support and guidance, as you hopefully will offer me support and guidance when I need it from something that you'll have some insight into. Thanks.
So good, man. So good. Round of applause again, and a big shout out. I hope you can break the speakers right now. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, that is Stephen Bernstein, director, writer, producer, and an amazing human being. If you like that, add him on Instagram at Stephen Bernstein, director, writer. Is that right?
Instagram, Stephen Bernstein, director, writer. I would love you to follow me there as soon as possible. I write every day. I do respond to comments, and once the web page is up, you'll be able to access me directly. And then, of course, the book comes out called Creative Process next year, and it'll be distributed worldwide, pretty widely. So great.
Absolutely, guys. And just so you know, the charity component of it, feel free to go behind the scenes and do it yourself. I'll add the link right now. Whatever you can afford, $1, $2, $5, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all going to charity. I'll post that up just as a contribution to the good nature of the world and the current situation. So thank you, Stephen. Robyn?
Oh, and last call, by the way, also go to IMDb and you can vote for the films because then it helps us get a wider distribution, because right now we're approaching every market in the world, so we're hoping for a pretty wide distribution. But for those of you who've seen it at festivals or wherever else it's been, you can give it a 10 if you've seen it, but you can vote on IMDb and whatever you want to do. But keep your eyes out for the movie. Please join me on Instagram. But most of all, I hope I've been of some help to all of you. That's what I'm aiming to do.
Definitely. Robyn, what's your last thoughts? Robyn, did you want to close off with him?
I would love a question. If Stephen could do one last question.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Have you got time, Stephen?
So well, but yeah, I guess I've already been embarrassed, but yes, go on. That's the way.
Okay.
One last question. I think it's more for the actors, but the creative process, like you would write a screenplay, and then how does the actual process of that go, and how much obviously input, because you would hire a casting director, they will filter out some actors, come back to you. So whose last say is it on a film project, like for
Good
casting?
Question. Good question.
Well, it depends on where you're working. If you're working for a studio, and I work for studios a lot, inevitably there'll be some middle-level executives who will have some input, because they will have marketing departments who determine the value of individual actors in terms of their impact in the marketplace.
Yeah.
But on any independent film, and even some features, I will certainly have my agent or manager. It's just in my contract that I have last say on actors, because the hiring of actors is essential to the creation of the film. And every good director and writer will have a vision of what that film is and have a very good idea of what cast they want. I will always hire the best actors, not the actors that will have necessarily the best financial return, within reason. I mean, obviously, my leads are going to be great actors who are known, because I want to make sure my investors get their money back, which is, again, essential that I do that. I can't work as a director and not see money back from my investors. But I'm not going to hire an actor just because they're an internet celebrity, for example, or because the studio wants them. I'm going to choose an actor because they're great actors. And look who I've worked with. I mean, John Malkovich is one of our best living actors, Helen Hunt, Samantha Morton, Aaron Paul, Corey Stoll, Rashida Jones, and Roman Legary and Tony Hale, etc. These actors, all of them, every one of them, great actors. And for me, also, it makes my joy in my creative process of directing and being on set with them much more fun. For example, Aaron Paul and John Malkovich are two of the nicest people I've ever had the honor of working with. They're just fun to be around. And the fact that we're around them all the time, those are the people that want to get hired. So, ultimately, if you're doing a big studio film or a Marvel movie, the studio is going to be involved in that decision-making process. But on virtually every other film, it's going to be down to the director. Directors listen to the advice of casting directors and listen to the advice of they're investors, but ultimately, as a director, you've got to choose the actor that's right for your movie. And if it isn't up to you, it should be. And in most instances, it is.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic, man. Thank you so
how,
much.
How important is attitude, the attitude of the actors? If you feel that they're difficult to deal with, would you more steer away from them, or how important is it?
My own belief, there's no such thing as a difficult actor. It's to do with the perception of crew and directors and producers what difficult is. Actors are doing something very difficult, which is they're trying to get to the truth of their character. And it's hard, and everyone does it differently. I've worked with actors who insist that no one looks at them when they're on set, and they're much ridiculed, wrongly ridiculed, because if that's what it takes for them to give a great performance, then we should support them. I've often said to crews at the beginning of a film, when I was a DP or as a director, our job is to support our fellow creative people, which includes our actors. And if they want no one to look at them, no one to speak, if they want silent sets, whatever they want, whatever they need, we should provide. It's always a controversy that when an actor's off screen, maybe they want to go back to their dressing room. But I would insist, and most actors insist, and most actors are good about this, that they stay on set and sit next to the camera to give the on-screen actor an eye line so they can act opposite an actor who's really there and acting. I even prefer using two cameras so both sides are acting at the same time, so both can raise the level of performance. But actor being difficult, if an actor's being difficult, it's incumbent on the director to make them feel comfortable with whatever they're doing. And if their process seems difficult to the crew, then I have to go to the crew and get the crew to accept their process rather than get the actor to adjust their process for the crew. Look, you do want to get along with people. It helps your career, there's no question. And if someone's charming and delightful the way Aaron Paul or Corey Stahl or Rodrigo Santoro is, another charming person, great, everyone wants to work with them. But ultimately, what directors really care about and what crew really care about is quality of performance. And if you're getting to deliver a quality of performance, as long as you're not murdering or hurting or abusing anyone, if your process is such that you don't speak to people or you want people out of your eye line quite reasonably, then it's up to us to make sure that you're working the best possible environment that facilitates your creative expression. Obviously, if you're destructive and angry, people aren't going to like you, but good directors will be drawn to good actors however you behave.
Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. Another round of applause, guys. Smash those 1s and 2s on the exit of Stephen. Stephen, you are a wondrous man in the industry. We look up to you so much. Thank you, man, so much. And, if you're open to doing it again in the next 3 months, well, we're open. We'd love to do it again. Good luck in your future endeavors. Bless your heart. And make time
to speak to Keith, by the way. Bye, Keith and Brian and Anastasia. Some great names here, by the way. One of my favorite names, Anastasia, Francesca, and Monica, and Carolyn, and Nikki, and Amanda. And I'm going to miss a lot of them, but thank you all. And I hope it was useful, and you don't think I'm a pompous twit. I am a pompous twit.
I don't think anyone thinks that here. I think there's amazing value in service. Thank you so much, Stephen. Have the best day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, guys, if you like that, just hang around. Robyn and I will be here for a little while longer. Robyn, how long?
Probably about 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes or so. Well, I've got to do a quick piss. I've been holding it for 2 minutes, for 2 hours. So I'll be back. Okay. But Robyn, you can answer anyone's question. I'll make you a co-host right now. Just unmute them. 1 second. Okay. I'm making you the co-host. Okay. Done. I'll be back. I'll be back.
All right. Can we have some questions on the chat box if you are keen to hang around? Any questions? Does anyone want to type something on the chat box, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I have to work out how to do this. Self-taping. Let me bring... Oh, thank you, Brandon. Missed you too. I can't wait to be back in LA. Yes, look, Joey and I will have a chat about getting Stephen back. We have had quite a few casting directors, both in LA and Australia, who would have loved to come on this today, but unfortunately, fortunately for them and unfortunately for us, they are casting for some films, so they were unable to make it. So we will try and, like, Joey and I will have a chat and speak to Stephen again about possibly doing another one, because these are high-end casting directors would love to have on the event, and we are looking absolutely to do another one. How do we find those events? We will chat, Joey and I will have a chat, and I've discussed this with Joey that we've had quite a few casting directors. So we will more than likely have Stephen come in and do it again. And how you'll find the event, Joey, he's the master of advertising. How do I share the screen? Sorry, guys. I don't know what to do. It's not me. What do you want me to do? Type? What do I do?
Hey, can you hear me? You got me. Hey guys,
Sorry.
thanks so much. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Thanks for your patience, because I made her the host.
Getting
And
back.
Robyn's computer illiterate, but she's amazing in every other facet, amazing other facet of life. Thanks, Robyn, for that. So yeah, guys, where were we up to?
So the question was, will we have one of these events again? I said we've had.
Hell yes, hell yes. Did you say Michael Mandeville's on the list of targets as well? The producer. Yeah, absolutely. We've got Michael Mandeville. And Robyn's been very actively engaged in the industry behind the scenes very regularly. She's a powerhouse networker. So if you want to learn more tips about that, reach out to her on Instagram behind the scenes. She's been around the industry for about 10 years, Robyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's actually looking to go to LA very soon if November 1st goes well. Is that
I'm
true?
sort of sitting on it, just indecisive whether it's the end of October or next year. I'm still undecided.
Yeah. So if you guys like that, man, drop your email to me privately. I know some of you have, so thank you for that. And what we'll do is we'll keep you in the loop for these types of events. And just so you know, just so you can tell everybody about this event, I'll post something on my Facebook page. So thanks so much for clicking, going, interested, and thank you for your contributions. This is about you guys, so we want to hear what you have to say about the event. We want to hear who you want to see. So if whatever you want to give to us, just reach out, let us know, and Robyn and I will do our absolute best to bring you guys what you're asking for in respect to the questions asked, in respect to the types of people, whether you want a producer, whether you're more inclined to speak to writers or directors or actors or actresses, whatever it is, reach out, tell us, and we'll do our absolute best, because this is something that we're very proud of and very involved in actively, which is giving back and shining light on people and giving them the opportunity to engage with the masses and you guys. So thank you so much for contributing. I know a good friend of mine is in the room as well. If you do want to reach your profile, if you want to get your profile to another level, have a reach out to Keith Keller. Right, he's an absolutely outstanding. Big shout out to Keith, because he took this event right now. Big shout out right now to Keith. He took this event from about 60 people to about 261 interested or going on Facebook, just in a matter of days, just with his strategies and everything like that. So he's a really good, powerful influencer for that. So anything else, guys, I'll chuck my my Instagrams in the chat box. Add us, follow us. Let's connect on Instagram or social media, and we'll just continue the chat for you, lovely people. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really, really grateful. If you have any questions now, just pop them in the chat box. You're welcome, Sarita. You're amazing. And yeah, if any other questions, I'm happy to stick around for another 10 minutes. If you guys are, I'm chilled. I'm starving, absolutely starving. Who's hungry? Who's hungry? I want to try and unmute everyone now so we can just start talking, because there's a lot less people in the room. We can open forum. So I'm unmuting everyone. I just got to do it one by one. Jeff Lipton, thank you for your commitment to the question you asked. It was amazing. Brian, I can see you have experience. Dave, Marina, thank you. I'm just unmuting everyone, guys, one by one. So feel free to talk. I don't own this. I don't own the session. It's a
Joseph. Joseph.
Yes, Jeff.
I sent a message which Stephen read regarding a screenplay that I've written. You might remember he said he liked the idea but wasn't prepared to read the script, which is understandable.
I'll be right back on in a bit.
He did say later on when I spoke to him, am I still on, am I?
Yeah, you're still on. I think
we have later on he'd be happy to send me some suggestions. Is there some way I can contact him to follow him up on that offer? Perhaps an email address or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Stephen did. I'm going to ask you. Sorry, guys, I had to mute everyone because there's too much audio loop. I'm just doing it one by one again. Sorry about that. Jeff, I've just asked you to unmute again. Yep. There's too much of an audio loop going on with everyone's mics on. Sorry about that. So if you could just unmute yourself. Yep, got it. Sorry, Jeff, not unmuted yet. You're still muted. Yep, gotcha. I think, no, yep, okay. Here we go. Okay, sorry.
Did you hear what I said, or do you want me to say it again?
Yes, I kind of heard, from what I gathered, can I put you in touch with him? I will try my absolute best.
Yes, well, he said he liked the idea of the premise of my screenplay, and he was happy to make some suggestions. So I'm wondering if there's an email address that you could give me of his that I can make contact with him.
Absolutely. So we'll reconvene with Stephen in the next couple of months, definitely, and I'll ask him that. No problem. Because, you know, we've obviously got a lot of things happening in the pipeline in respect to these types of conferences, Robyn and I. So I would definitely pitch that to him, that question. Yes, I think Robyn and I will chat after this as well to seek strategy with any other proposals, because, you know, obviously he's a very busy man. I can't promise you that he will respond because the level of.
I think Joey. Yeah. I think that Stephen did say to him that he could like to send an email. I think was that what was discussed. Like,
yes.
So Jeff, what's your email? What's your email address? Can you send me it privately, and I'll put that in the to do.
How do I send it privately?
Tell me, just if you're happy sharing it in this forum, just say it out loud, and I'll write it down.
Yeah, okay. Joey, Stephen did say to send the script across, and then Stephen will have a look at it on his end. And
we'll send it from ours. How about he sends it to us, and we'll send it to him.
You're referring to the script, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What we'll do is we'll speak to Stephen just to clarify, and we'll just make sure that Stephen is okay with that, which I'm pretty sure he will because he did say that. And then we'll convene with you as to where you send that script.
Okay. Well, Robyn, you've sent me something through LinkedIn yesterday inviting me to this group. Can I send you my email address as a reply to you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll send you a reply to your message from yesterday with my email address. And then if you could pass it on to Stephen, that would be great.
That would be great. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thanks as well, Joseph. Thank you very much.
You're absolutely welcome, my brother. So just so you know, Robyn and I are not just artists, like I'm a singer-songwriter and that. We're also business and entrepreneur type thinkers. This is why we do these types of things, you know, in order to make impact, in order to make change, in order to give back to community. So any ways that we can do this through this platform, you know, with your guys' help, we're open to it through this platform and future platforms, you know, because it's all about impacting the world, making change. And for me, for example, one of my personal projects is to create sustainability farms around third world countries, just to give back and better quality water. I don't want to bring them to the first world. I'm not, you know, I can't bring them up to the first world country status, obviously, but because there's gold in what they're actually, you know, there's a lot of gold in the wisdom that they already have. And I think they're better off than us in some cases, not all cases, but some cases. But, you know, little things like that, guys, I'm sure some of you are heartfelt and impact. That's what Robyn and I are about. And that's why we do these things. And that's why we find these people. And Stephen Bernstein's fee, just so you know, if you're not aware of his usual fee, that he's donated today. And get this, if you're ready for this, I didn't want to mention it in front of him because he's like, "Oh, Joey, stop it! Stop mentioning the fee. I don't like the fee. I don't like the fee." And then it is $25,000 US for 2 hours. $25,000 US for 2 hours. He has donated today for free, just to contribute to the lives of everyone in COVID. And Robyn and I stand outstandingly impressed and thankful. So
a great gesture.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm not sure if Peter DeFlattery, if he's still on as a participant.
He left a message, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter, there he is with the Band-Aid on your neck. Here, unmute yourself, mate. I think everyone's allowed to unmute themselves. Just we'll try not to. Yeah, cool.
There you go.
Hey, Pete, how are you?
Yeah, I'm alive.
Awesome to see you.
Great to see you too.
You've done some big work in Australia. You've done some TV shows, and do you want to tell people what you've done? You're quite active, like you're employed as an actor quite a lot.
Oh, look, I can't be too famous if I got to tell you. I have done a lot of stuff, and like everyone, I guess COVID has made a dent. But one of the big things that I would say, or two main things that I would agree with what you guys are doing, and I appreciate this, by the way, and also what Stephen said, was that this is a time, this is a gift. It really, really sucks, everything that's happening, but the matter is, this is a time where we can be increasing our skill sets. This is a time we can be writing, we can be doing workshops like this, and as I mentioned there, I have a couple of features that I'm producing at the moment, and at some point we're going to be looking for good people, and I say good people, not just good actors, good people.
That's what it's about, and that's what it's about, Peter.
Yeah, I very much have a no dickheads policy. Excuse me. If anyone,
hands up if you like that. Hands up if you like that. Yeah, Peter. Yep.
Well, truth be known, I can spend sort of 6, 8, 10 weeks on a set with someone who I like. I would way prefer to do that than that amount of time with someone who I'm going to my trailer, and that's cool if that's what they've got to do.
Yeah.
But,
you've worked quite a bit on TV, Australian TV. You've been around for a while.
Yeah, a little while.
You've some acting industry, Australian industry icons. So you've got quite a bit of experience under your belt.
Well, it's interesting because I was set to go, like yourself, I was set to be back in LA right now. And then I had another...
I'll be the first to tell you, you don't want to be here. Everything's on fire. People are going insane.
Brandon's always advising me, no, don't come. We want you, but we don't come.
Well, that's funny you say that, Brandon. I had another film that I was to appear in Santa Fe. And I don't know if you know much about that. It's got a huge industry there, but they also they all run around with guns on their hips.
Yeah.
Probably not a good time to be there.
Yeah, no, man, it's insane. It's crazy. Like, you go outside and everyone's got their mask on. It's COVID, and now you walk outside during the day and it's like nighttime and there's ashes and stuff like that. But like, everybody's just like, I mean, this is just kind of LA in general. Everyone's like for themselves, and you can kind of feel the energy when you go outside. Yeah. So it's like, I need a breath of fresh air type deal.
Yeah, well, can I just say something, guys? As part of policy, we all have to wear masks in this Zoom meeting from now on, okay?
I knew someone was going to
I'm in Melbourne. It's enough, guys. Like, all you can do in Melbourne is wear a mask.
Yeah, right. You got a beard. Yeah, you're good. The beard keeps everything away.
Well, I had surgery on my hand, and I couldn't shave. And now I can't get to the barber to get it taken.
They're not open where you guys are? They're not open there?
We have less open.
Melbourne is completely closed. Melbourne has a curfew. You cannot go anywhere between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m.
I feel for you guys so much.
There's a 5 kilometer radius that you can't go outside of your home. You can only be outside of your house for 1 hour a day of exercise.
All right, maybe
and only one person from your house can go to the grocery store.
I know Alana. Alana is an amazing singer-songwriter who has got contact with LA as well.
Can you sing us something, Alana? Can you sing us something? I'll sing if you sing.
Only my housemate works on the phones from home, so unfortunately no.
Okay. We'd love to see something. Drop your stuff in the chat box. We'll check you out.
Yeah,
Sure, you guys can head over to my Insta. All my stuff's on there, so I'll
Okay,
just,
can you put it in the chat box? Yeah. So hey, here's what I'm feeling here, Robyn. Just energetically, I'm tapping in, and on a high level, it's like this is a beautiful community. Look at these people. Look at we're already giving. Let's create a Facebook group. Add them all in, and let's just keep in touch. And obviously, we're all busy. I know that. I'm not expecting anything, but I just love the power of a tribe and the power of a community to support each other. Yeah. So if you're already in a community, let us know. Reach out to me and to Robyn and I, and you know a lot of these people, Robyn. So I'm happy to be engaged and help out as much as I can. Anyone that knows me knows I will fucking do whatever I can to help someone, whatever I can. Because
can I just quickly get back to Pete as to what he was doing? Sorry to cut you off there, Pete.
Yeah, no. Go for it.
And sorry for Joey as well. But what you were doing in LA, like what were you going to pitch a film or what? Because I know you do quite a bit.
Yeah, this particular trip was especially to coincide with the AFM, the American Film Market.
Oh, that's in November, which is going online, I believe.
Yeah, with COVID, it's been interesting because at the moment I actually have 7 films just purely as an actor that are unreleased. And literally while this was all happening, I don't know if anyone was following me on Instagram, something came through that I had to immediately regenerate because one of the films, Choir Girl, the first lead in the feature, has gone to iTunes, and that'll come out on the 15th. Now, this is where it's relevant for all of you guys. We have to be prepared for these different things because, you know, we had really great reviews, we had fantastic audience participation and feedback, but then everything died, and we didn't have, you know, Brad Pitt, we didn't have Charlize Theron, unfortunately, but we had some fantastic Australian talent and some from LA. And what happened was that we had to start looking elsewhere. I say we, I wasn't a producer on that one, but being the lead, I knew a lot more about it. And so, sorry, I'm digressing here, Robyn, but I hope it's interesting for you guys because what it meant was we had to look at other platforms. And so that now, the film Choir Girl, if you look on my Instagram, Peter D. Flaherty, I'm not promoting that. I'm just saying that is an idea for you. And in the next couple of features that I've got coming up that we're casting and putting together casts and crew for, what I was saying before about the no dickheads policy, you know, we're very much on that because right now, unfortunately, we just don't have those white knights with millions of dollars pumping it in and pumping it in. What we have to do is work for ourselves and generate our own work. And that's what we're looking at doing. We've got some really good people. And some of you guys I haven't met before, which is fantastic. So please make contact. If we can provide opportunities to others and it goes, see, I'm a very big believer in win-win.
Yeah.
Has to be win-win, karma, and I love your attitude, mate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter.
Just touching base with that, Pete, I do believe the AFM is going online and you can register and pay. So for those who don't know, it's AFM is this American Film, I can't even remember what it stands for, but that's where they pitch their films.
American Film Market.
American Film Market. So I do believe you can register on that online in November. That's when everyone around the world goes to LA for the American Film Market.
I'm in California at the moment. So,
San Francisco, dude.
Yeah. Sorry,
and
San Francisco.
Online that you still can do projects online in November. Is my understanding.
Well, and a good place to like put your stuff too. I mean, because I know firsthand like some of the apps that are coming out. Start focusing on like Triller and TikTok. Like even if you have like little clips of anything, start posting that. Yeah, everybody's saying it's going to be banned, but I know people making $30,000 a day that are younger, that are my age and younger.
Yeah.
And so there's like 19-year-olds making $30,000 a day for a 15-second dumb video.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, here we have, you know, talent, creativeness, and, you know, years of craft and honing. And they're barely putting anything in and making $30K a day, you know? So if we start putting our stuff on there and start promoting it, and like the paid promotions on Instagram are actually really, really smart to do, because it widens your audience. And if you put different hashtags for different parts of the world, it'll send that audience, it'll like ting Instagram, and it'll send it to that part of the world too.
And I feel like the legend Keith Keller's about to say something.
Can I?
Absolutely.
I hope so. Hey.
Go for it.
I'm not an actor, and I do know a lot of actors. I've got a good following in LA. I'm a Twitter dude. And Twitter's one of those things that people have a love-hate relationship with. But I chatted to Joey and Robyn this week, and we are planning to do some live streams. And I know we're all in Melbourne. The lockdown is more hideous than you can actually describe.
Worse than LA, I just might add there.
You can't leave your house after 8 p.m. You can only walk for 1 hour a day. If you can get a fine for $200 if you go to the shops more than 5 kilometers from your house. And there's cops patrolling the beach, and there's drones in the air. This is a true story. I mean, this is absolutely happening.
You definitely cannot travel more than 5 kilometers from where you live.
You know, you have to get it. You know, you have to work. I carry something in my pocket to tell the cops that the Woolworths is 4.8 kilometers, and just in case I get pulled over. So you know, the point is that we have these online tools, and I'm not whinging. I've got a good life. I live down near the beach, and I can walk to the beach, and there's a coffee shop there. But we have these online tools, and Robyn and Joey and I are thinking of exploring them. And I want to introduce a site called StreamYard, which is like Zoom, except
Anastasia's jumping up and down.
I can you can take the Zoom file and send it to Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn, YouTube. And we were just chatting about a gig I did in Jamaica, which reached 1.9 million people.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about TikTok, and we're talking about these things, so Robyn and Joey will start progressively talking to you about this. If you want to be involved, I'm very happy to help.
Yeah, for sure.
I do that via Twitter, but I'm now exploring StreamYard, which is a really cool app, which is quite inexpensive.
Sorry to cut you off, but is StreamYard, who owns StreamYard?
No, it's its own company. It's two young guys working out of Vancouver.
Okay, cool.
So it's only been around about a year, and these two young guys have just had this idea. It's very similar to Hootsuite in the sense that when Hootsuite came out, it connected all the social media sites at one time.
Right, sure.
So what StreamYard does, like Zoom, you take a feed like this, and you push a button, and it goes to Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and
oh wow, they added Twitch in there
at the same time.
That's
so
it's
unbelievable. You create one file,
right?
Which it looks lovely, and you can have banners, and you can have music, and you can have countdowns. And I want to explore this idea because I'm not an actor. I don't read a script. I'm not a script type person. I'm an ad-libber. I would much prefer to do improv. I think I could do improv.
For it.
Sorry?
Can I just add in? I've heard your laugh, Keith, and I can't get it out of my head.
Okay, well, we'll get to that.
So I want to try and make you laugh, brother. I love your grey hair.
No, we'll get to that because it is quite infectious.
You look like a sexier version of Gandalf the Grey.
Do that.
Okay, I get that.
I'm trying to make you laugh. I want to hear your laugh. I love your laugh.
But the point I'm making is that we're stuck. Robyn made Get Out. Like Robyn.
I will get out. I've got an example.
She's going to get out. Like Alana's looking at Robyn going, "How'd you do that, girl? I mean, how are you getting out? We can't get out."
Yeah.
I can get a fine. I can get $200 fine
Robyn and I
today.
actually have been talking a lot about getting out of here. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you would be.
But we talk nearly on a daily basis, Robyn and I, and we've definitely, haven't we, Robyn, had many conversations. We've got things planned. Don't we, girl?
And obviously that's the best scenario. Get out and go where the creatives are. But in the interim period, we Melbourne won't get out of lockdown until the 23rd of November. This is a true story. 23rd of November. We still have.
By the way, guys. We've actually locked down. Not necessarily stage 4, which is what we're currently in, but we have been locked down in some capacity since March.
In March 28th.
Yeah.
It's worse than Wuhan. Actually worse than Wuhan.
Yes.
Brandon,
I think we've had It's hectic out of
up.
everywhere in the world.
And I'm not whinging about that, but what I want to do is I want to create this interest, and I've chatted to Serena and Anastasia privately. I want to just I want to introduce myself to say I'm here, I'm in Melbourne, I know some stuff, and I work online 100% of the time. And in this environment where we can't leave, maybe we can do some magic.
Yeah.
And
someone sent me a private message about theatre. Sorry, vaguely I remember. It was at Anastasia. Yeah, something about theatre on Zoom. Theatre on Zoom. That sounds cool. Hang on, I got a filter for that. You guys.
That's right. You have. You're up on stage.
Alana, maybe could we hear a little bit of your new single that you released? Like just a couple of. She's an amazing singer-songwriter, and she's created this new song. And
I think what I can do for you. Yeah, that's okay. I can't sing it just for the fact that I share a house with other people who are working and they're on the phones. But what I can say is I can quickly tell you the premise.
Tell them to hang up.
I can tell you the premise of the song, and if you head over to my Instagram, you'll find the link there. It's very easy.
Can you play a tiny bit on your phone?
I could try. Give me 1 second, actually.
Who would like to hear it? Does anyone show of hands would like to hear it? Yep. Awesome.
Okay.
We've got enough.
I think it was the upbeat one that I loved. It's kind of got this.
Oh, okay. So my newest release is called Dear Depression, and it's kind of like a letter, like written in a format of a letter, but not based from the concept of someone who suffers from depression, but more loved ones of someone who suffers from depression, which is kind of a different aspect to mental health than what we sort of address most of the time. And I know that most people have known or do know someone that suffers from mental illness, and we know how they're suffering and that's hard for them, but it's also hard for us to love people who suffer, because it's not always easy. So the song that Robyn is referring to, it was my release.
Uplifting with some amazing positive lyrics.
So my release before that is called Dirty Diamonds, and the concept of that song was that I understand that diamonds come from the dirt, they come from the ground, they have to go through extreme pressure and really harsh circumstances to become the beautiful things that they are. And I find that myself included, and a lot of my fans are those kinds of people. You know, we've had really, really hard lives from very young ages, been through a lot of trauma, and sometimes it's hard for us to remember how special and beautiful and important that we are. So that song I wrote as like an uplifting anthem for all of us who kind of like want to take ownership of us, and that's why we're Dirty Diamonds. So you guys, honestly, like not sure if I play it, if you'll be able to hear it, but I promise you, if you head over to my Instagram page, there is a link in my bio and everything is listed on there. So
maybe we'll do that. Chuck your Instagram details on the chat, because everyone in here is a creative, and if we had time to listen to everyone, that would be amazing. But I want to check it out. I'm going to check it out. I'm checking it out. Who's checking it out? I'm checking you out. I'm checking me out. I'm checking everyone out here. You're all amazing. Can you please give yourselves a friggin' hug for showing up today? Just like to want to work on yourselves and just, seriously, like showing up just to work on yourselves and improve your lives. Wow.
Wow. If Alana could play a tiny bit just to give a sample, that would be.
She's so adamant. She does it. I love you, Robyn. You're so okay. Well, just give me 1 sec.
Hurry up, Alana. Chuck it on, man.
I'm trying.
Sorry, I don't mean to go off topic here, but I just had a thought. Is it just me, or does Joseph look like Turtle from Entourage?
Thanks, man. Thank you, bro. Dave, I love you. What's your full name, Dave?
Dave Curtin.
Dave Curtin, man, where are you from? Alana, just play that anytime.
I'm from Melbourne. I live in the Bayside area.
I've sent the link as well, guys, in the chat for YouTube, just if it makes it easier.
Mad. Can I get it? Can we just say a thank you to this guy here? Rory, come in. Rory. He's my cousin. He was my tech dude. He was the one admitting everyone. He was the Zoom.
Rory.
He was the Zoom. What do you call those people that chauffeur people in the theaters? What do you call them?
Ushers.
He was the Zoom usher today. So, yeah.
Joey, who else do we have on participants?
Where?
On the participants, who else have we got here?
Today? Here now.
Right now, I can only see about 4 or 5 boxes.
Ah, we got. I want to mention the names really quickly right now. Okay, ready? Really quickly. Steve Jagger, Anastasia Kalukas, Angelina Zane, Antonio Morellis, Caroline Russo, Caroline Rodney, Dave's iPhone, Jack Kelly, Karen Mitchell, KD Mackey, Lauren Fab, Soren Haruko, Sarah Tar, Sarita Calendar, James Connell, and Judy Stiff.
Okay, Caroline Russo.
Oh, there's more. There's more. Sorry. Oh shit! I gotta keep scrolling. Oh, sorry.
There's 2 pages. There's 2 pages.
Holy shit balls. Okay, Diane Weeby, my mum, Brandon Kappen, Marina, Peter Dennis Flaherty,
How do you
Robyn
get rid of
Deuce,
these?
Alana Adiguzal, Brian. Okay, cool. Sorry if I missed you.
I can't get rid of that.
Steve, maybe if we could bring Steve up, because he's
Yeah, he's
hey,
off.
Steve,
He's on.
how are you?
Good. Thank you very much for the invite. It was very insightful and very mind-opening in regards to, I know, the processes that we need to go through as actors and screenwriters when heading over to and trying to crack into the LA market. So thank you very much for saving us all $25,000.
Yes, I second that.
Steve, you've been in the game for a while. I think you worked on a feature film with Andy McPhee and a few other like well-known Australian icons. Was it the Ned Kelly, the Bush? What was it?
Yeah, so
Ben Hall.
My profile, yeah, I've done The Legend of Ben Hall. I was also in Foxtel's Lawless Stranger series. And I've recently just done a short film, which we're hoping to make into a feature about the Burke and Will story. So, as you all probably can tell, my brand is basically Australian history. I'm a historian. That's what opened the door for me to get into the industry. And so that's the role I'm going to continue following through with. So
good, man. Well, kudos. Can we get a yes? Can we send some love? Can we send some love to everyone? Everyone in this group right now.
Where did all get distributed? Did you say did that go on TV or?
Lawless, the Real Bushrangers was on Foxtel. That was an award-winning series.
Yeah.
I just want to say, yeah, that's sick, man. I want to send some love right now. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not religious, but I know the power of synergy and the power of contribution. And right now, if we can send some great karma to all our artistic endeavors, including you, Steve, for what you just did there, and including you, Alana, and Peter Dennis Flaherty. Can we just I don't know, what do we do? How do we send great love to all our artistic endeavors? How do we do it? Mwah!
Love you guys.
Nice one, Peter. Hug. Yes. Good energy.
You're all amazing.
Good energy. Yes.
Yes. Great
energy.
You're doing amazing stuff. I know, Steve, you actually had, I saw on your Facebook about the Australian market and that they weren't supportive. Can you explain that experience, and if you don't mind? And you are also wanting to get over to LA because you feel like it's more of a supportive market. Can you explain like what you went through and how people weren't supportive? We really need more of a supportive market here in Australia that we don't have, and we gravitate to LA because of that. Do you mind sharing your experience on that? If you don't, then that's
fine. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Well, we've got to be a bit realistic about it. We don't really have an industry here in Australia.
No, we don't.
As you can see, you'll get people on Neighbours and Home and Away will cop contracts that will keep them employed for 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably the two main programs that we've got in Australia. Whereas if us actors head out to LA, screenwriters, producers, anyone, they've actually created an industry over there. So unless we can replicate something here in Australia, which is more than possible, then unfortunately, a lot of us are going to have to sacrifice our time and money and head over to LA and see if we can crack into the market that way.
Just with your experience with the supportive network, because there is some LA people like Brand and a few others who've never been to Australia that don't understand that it is more of that tall poppy syndrome here. You experienced something on Facebook recently. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it was made you feel you weren't supported.
Yes, that was something that was in regard. That wasn't in regards to acting, but I suppose it can relate to that as well.
Sorry.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, you're saying?
No, that's fine. No, keep going.
We're always going to have people who bring us down. So even the people who I grew up with have never even seen the films that I've been in, the TV shows. You've just got to seriously put it behind you. Don't dwell on the things that are going to keep holding you back from achieving the goals and the success that you crave for. You know, we can't choose our family. Sometimes we can choose our friends, but, you know, you have to put the negativity behind you. As Stephen Bernstein was saying, take the risks and move forward and try. And just, as I said, put that negativity behind you. Learn from your mistakes and keep striving for that success. Because to be successful, it takes a lot of hard work. You can't sit on your ass and expect it all to fall into your lap. As Steve said again, you know, we've got this time, all this downtime to ourselves. Use it to your advantage. So whether you're practicing a script in front of a mirror, you're writing a sloppy script, you know, in 4 days, or you're writing a 120-page script, 2 pages at a time each day. Use this time wisely, because whatever you're working on doesn't even have to be acting or industry related. You will, you know, you put in the hard yards, you will be successful for the hard work that you put in.
Absolutely.
I don't even have an agent, for Christ's sake, and I've already got quite a good CV for myself in the industry, I believe. So, you know, that just once again goes to show that it doesn't take money or experience. It just takes a bit of knowledge and hard work.
Yeah,
Legend.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well done. Thank you so much, Steve. Can we bring up, just quickly before we wrap up, Joey, can we bring up Brandon and just his little experience of where he's at in LA? So for us Australians who aim to get to LA, Brandon
Before I do that, can I just say that Brandon Cappan, you are a sexier version of Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, I used to work at a club and I got that all the time.
You are a sexier version, brother. Take it away.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Just help for Australians who want to get to LA. Brandon has been there for a while.
Yeah.
Yes, take it away.
What I would say is, if you want to make you want to make the move. I mean, Robyn, you know a bunch of people here in LA. You know, it helps to have connections. Like doing things like this helps make that connection, because you know somebody couldn't know somebody who has a room available or has something available to where, because there's people that are moving out. There's people moving out of Los Angeles because everything going on. They're moving back home. There's people on unemployment. But people, this is a hard time, and it's weaning out all the people that aren't like die-hard actors. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like,
yes.
I know a videographer, talented videographer, who moved back home, and I'm like, dude, and he's like, I'm just gonna work and like focus on coding, and I'm like, what are you doing? You just spent $50,000 on an RE camera. You need to stay here. You are talented. Just wait it out. So there's people that are falling back to like going back to stuff. But I mean, I know a bunch of people that they say, oh, I'm coming back, and then they don't come back. So it's opening up opportunity for people, you know, like yourselves in Australia, to move here for, I mean, some of it is getting cheaper in some places, but people just want to fill their rooms.
Wow, I love that.
And I think while you guys are there, I would start filming, like honestly, film at least every day, film something. It doesn't matter what it is, kind of like Steven said, it doesn't matter what it is, because that one thing, if you post it, a million views in a day. I see some of the dumbest stuff, and I tell you, super dumb. And I know half the most famous YouTubers in the world, their content, I would never tell my friends this, but their content is not good. You know, if you have a quality videos and acting and stuff, man, post it, because you never know what can happen.
Love that, man. Who put your hands up if that was good advice? I loved it. I love that. Thank you, man.
Just to give a rundown of Brandon, I know you've done a bit of thing. You've worked with James Franco. You actually gave me his contact, right? So I remember that. I remember I was like, I'm wanting to work with James Franco, and you're like, well, I have his details. So he's worked with like quite a few people in the industry. So I would connect with Brandon. You know, he's definitely helped you with he's worked on feature films. He's worked with some Can
I just give
definitely someone to connect with if you're wanting to get to LA.
Love it. Can I just share something here? In 2 months, I've developed, and this is not to take away the heat of what Brandon is doing right now. I want to send traffic your way, brother, but it segues into that. Okay? This one activity that I've taken from Brendan Bouchard, one of the leading influencers in America, has brought me to this moment here and this connection that I've made with Stephen Bernstein and what's happening right here. This one networking tip I want to share with you. Yeah. And this will segue into not only reaching out to Brandon, but helping him, because here's what the activity is. Please do this, because he said to me in this free YouTube video, if you do this, your life will change. And it has, I promise you. I've got over 200 powerful contacts made in COVID, just by interviewing people. And this one simple trick. Okay. And the trick is, draw yourself on a piece of paper, your name in a circle. Yeah. Now, in the center of the paper, draw a line out from that to everyone influential in your community that you know right now. Yeah. Right now. From that, draw a line out from people that they know. Who do they know? Okay. So you've got this massive grid now. This could take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. Really think about it. There's people in your current network right now. Now, hang on. It goes even further than that. So watch this trick. It goes even further than that. So you've already got people around you, even in this group. If you guys add yourselves to the Facebook group I've created in the chat box, we'll stay in touch and we'll create this even further. You know, this synergy in the near future and beyond. Answer these 3 questions for each of those people. It is super simple, guys. Super simple, right? Number 1, what do they know? What are their skill sets? What do they know? What are their skill sets? Because you're too often wasting your time on people that are not going to serve what you actually want. Yes or no? Yes or no? What are their skill sets? Yeah. Number 2, what do they need in order to achieve the next level of fulfillment in their lives?
Yes.
What do they need? These types of people, yeah? So your focus is not on you now, it's on them. Just keep in mind, what do they need? And here's a simple trick. Many people ask me this. They go, how do I find that out if they don't answer that? It's so fucking simple. Ask them. Ask them in conversation, right?
Questions not asked, but regrets.
Yes, man. Ask them, find it. Number 3, this is the most powerful trick I can share with from Brendan Bouchard's tip that's helped me excel my network and do this and meet Robyn and meet Stephen and have so many people, right? How? Are you ready for this one? How can I help them achieve that?
That's the key.
Bam.
100%.
Bam.
What value can you bring to them?
Right. So in respect to Brandon, check him out, but find out what the next level of fulfillment looks like for him. Then get it for him, because in climatic expression, it'll come back to you. Yeah? Climatic expression. Do you guys like that activity? Yeah.
And the funny thing is, too, like, social media kind of fell into my lap. I took about a year off, and I was directing for a company, and I was like creating stuff. So I was directing their commercial and kind of learning like the hair community, and then I was going to parties, which is networking. And instead of drinking like everybody else was doing, big people were handing out numbers, and me being sober, I kept that number, hit them up the next day. So that's just another thing. If you stay true to yourself and what you want, you're gonna get it. And like you said, doesn't ever hurt to ask, because if you don't ask, you're never going to know, and then you're going to regret not asking or talking to the person.
So he's even bigger. He's an even bigger
and
question.
Brandon knows well. Sorry, Brandon. I'm telling everyone now.
No,
I think it was Jake Paul. Was that before the YouTube?
Yeah. So Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and David Dobrik. David Dobrik's probably number one right now.
Where have I gone?
I did videos and stuff with them. So did I necessarily
What
like
happened to me?
No, but I listened. I listened to everything that they were doing behind the scenes, what they were doing marketing wise, you know, because I was like, I'm interested because
Where have I gone?
some films.
You don't have to like someone to learn from them.
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing too. I wanted to incorporate it into film because how many indie films don't get that many views?
Where have I gone?
This silly little teenager.
Cut me off.
I mean, this kid or guy can make a dumb video and spread out to millions, and I'm talking millions, and they're making more than people who hone their craft and actually work toward their stuff. You know what I mean? So I was like, so how can I incorporate that into our industry? So I was paying attention. So I started following Instagram, started like noticing, you know, branding and stuff. And it is very important to have a brand. Once you have an established brand, Instagram recognizes it, and then they will push your content.
Yes. Good one.
What were the key things that you learned from Jake Paul, have been hanging around him, and was that the main thing, or can you sort of offer?
I would say the main thing, Jake Paul wasn't the main thing. Jake is he's a big influencer. I would say the main thing that I learned was from being around David, because David Dobrik, because he has a fan base from kids all the way to teenagers. And here's the thing, as filmmakers and as actors, we want to entertain people. We also have to know our audience. So if we're putting out content that's specifically for adults, you know, it's going to be very niche, and it's only going to go to that one specific audience. So whereas I found out the money makers are when you make kid-friendly content, and that skyrockets, because if you get them as children, they follow you. As you get into adults, and like luckily for me, I still play 16 years old, but I have that, go from those young audience, and you get older, they follow you, and then they're going to continue watching your content.
Yeah. So
I would, and then YouTube and like all these other apps, I would get invited to like playlist and all these different places where the influencers were invited. And I would go with my friends, and I would learn from different companies, like why they're coming out with certain apps, what type of engagement they want to see. Because, you know, somebody can get, I don't know, 1 million views in a day. You know how much money that costs? So David's got like 16 something million. He's got quite a few million. But Coca-Cola, just to get a second of him sipping it on Instagram, is $100,000.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Amazing,
So,
guys.
Wow.
I
when
feel like
money comes from, you can invest it into your film.
I truly feel like there's some synergy here, and I'd love to make like a fortnightly or a monthly catch up. Who's up for that?
Awesome, yeah.
Let's do it. So add yourselves to the Facebook group. I called it the Bernstein effect. Okay, because this is the Bernstein effect.
That's awesome.
This is what happened after his brilliance. Please follow him, guys. Follow him and comment on his stuff. He does respond, you know, just intriguingly. But keep in mind, this is why I developed this today. I met Stephen 3 months ago, built a rapport with him, and asked, hey, can I interview you? Then I said, hey, can I get some people in an event? So it was a series of organic relationship building, yeah? But the goal for me is not to promote me. Yeah, I've got me in the background, just as a branding thing, as Brandon was saying.
That's a great photo.
Thanks, man. Yes. The goal for me is to help him fulfill the next level for him, which is more reach, more branding, more, you know, more reach, more, and getting out his wisdom. And I don't care what happens after that. I let go of the expectation. So let's get in. Let's get in the Facebook group. Let's stay in touch. And
Can I just say thank you, Joey? Because if it wasn't for him, none of this would have happened.
Thank you.
That's all right, man. If it was one up better than that is Stephen. I'm always going to pass it back to him. I don't want. Credit is nice. I'm going to thank you.
The philosopher in all of his answers, like that training he had before he went into the industry. All of his answers had that real thoughtfulness to it, which was really great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can learn so much from him. He was one of those guys in my life. When I first interviewed him, I sat there like this.
But you know, that's a natural reaction, and I bet he loved that, because I'm sure he gets a lot of people, you know, kissing his butt all the time, and he's probably like, wow, this is somebody real.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and absolutely. And that's what he actually did say, Brendan, the first time I met him. Is like, it's really refreshing, Joy, to have someone like to have an authentic conversation on a deeper level. Thank you.
Because it doesn't happen a lot in Hollywood, in LA.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
I was explaining this to Joey, saying that if us Australians, when we go to LA and we're real and we're not desperate, wanting something, for me, that's what's worked the most. And you mentioned like I've got a lot of contacts, and I have, but I haven't chased that. It's come to me, just being organic, and just showing up, and they come to me. I don't chase contacts, and I don't believe in chasing contacts. It's like, and they gravitate to you. So from being an Australian, we've got an advantage, like going to LA, just being you, and you will stand out. And exactly that, Joey, like,
man.
Yeah,
you got to be real and authentic. People don't, you can lie to people, right? You can lie to people, but you can't lie to the universe. You cannot lie to the universe.
Everyone can tell when you're being bullshitted too, so.
Yes.
They've been in the industry for a long time, and I've had meetings with big people, and they said, we love you because you're real. And they can see that I'm not chasing something. So when you show up at meetings and you're just yourself and you don't care whether you get the job or not, and you're just showing up and you're not acting desperate and you're real, you will stand out and they will remember that. And that's how I keep getting the people, because people often ask me, what's your magic? And I said, there is no magic. I just show up as me, and I'm not changing who I am, and I'm grateful, and I'm just, and that's the key of, whereas in LA, that doesn't exist a lot. It's a rare.
I got raised. My phone's about to die. So thanks once again very much for the invite.
You're welcome, Steve. Join the group. Keep collaborating, brother. Keep shining. You're amazing. I think he's gone.
So what did you say, Brandon, just quickly before we wrap up? It's a it's a rarity, right? In LA, it's like...
Yeah, it's an extreme rarity, and so much that you have to go through some bad eggs before you find like. And I can't even tell you. I went through like living in 9 different places in LA to finally getting a spot, having a full house, just to be able to afford rent and everything, and you go through bad eggs, man. You go through really bad eggs, and sometimes you get and it's crazy. Going through those bad eggs makes you appreciate the good times, but also it gives you more to pull from your vault. You know what I mean? It gives you more experience to pull from certain things. But I think that's just LA. I'm not from LA. I'm from a little town in Ohio, and I came here, and I've been blessed to be here 4 years. And I love it here. But you do have to go through some bad fake eggs, and you learn some lessons, but it helps you grow as a person. I'm a firm believer of. So yeah, it is a rarity, but when you do find the good people, they never go away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who agrees with that? Hands up. Yeah.
I agree.
Serena,
I went through something similar when I moved cities in Australia, and I definitely think that it's a struggle at first, but when you find your feet, you definitely have to learn to embrace any difficult situation that's come up in your life, because if you don't, then it controls you and you just can't really move forward, and it also controls the kind of people you have around you. And we are 5 closest people in our circle, so I personally always keeping in mind of the people that I hold closest to me, because those people influence my thoughts and my feelings as well as my own thoughts and feelings. So, I definitely agree, Brandon, 100% with what you said.
Yes. Yeah. Alana, can I just say that what's that character, Storm of X-Men?
Yes.
I feel like you're the Storm.
My hair.
You're the Storm right now of X-Men in this group right now. You're the Storm.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm guessing that's a compliment, because I haven't watched it. I always associated Storm's character as a good character.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's powerful, very powerful. And that's what you are. And that's what we all are. We all have this power within us. And my duty, and Robyn knows this, my passion is helping bring out confidence in people. Yeah. I don't care if I'm not going to end up as an actor. Yeah, that's a great thing. I'm not saying that it's not a great thing. It's an amazing passion to say, but my personal passion is bringing out confidence. I love when people are confident and confident enough to talk to anyone in the world. Anyone.
Yeah. I love that you are so certain of what your purpose is, regardless of what your passions are, because I think there's a difference between your passion and your purpose. And
absolutely,
I think that the most important part of having your passion and achieving your passion is finding your purpose within it. Like what you said earlier about wanting to make situations better in like third world countries, that really resonated with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that resonated with me, because I thought, here is a guy that I feel like morally I could associate with and relate to your values as a person and what you want to achieve for others. Like I really relate to that. I think okay, I've had this constant battle between acting and music, and never really been in a position to focus on both at the same time in my life until COVID. And recently it's given me the time. It's given me, believe it or not, more ways to use resources. It's given me more opportunity to network and reconnect with, you know, someone like Robyn, who, you know, I met when I was doing classes at, you know, her studio in Werribee in Australia. And, you know, and I also recognize Lorena, I don't know, there you are. But yeah, so, you know, anyway, I'm getting off track, but my point is that in music, you know, when Brandon was talking earlier about branding, that is so important. Regardless of anything you do in the entertainment industry, you have to understand what your brand is, how you dress, how you talk, how you represent yourself on social media. It is so important. It is,
Absolutely.
I would and anything else, how people see you and what you look like is very, very important. But I think also knowing your reason as to why you're doing something. Like, I'm not doing music or wanting to pick up with my acting because I want to be famous. Like that's just a slice of the pie. What I really want is I want to be able to make music that can help heal younger generations or heal people. And sometimes speak to people that can't always have the words to say what they want and make them feel something. And it's the exact reason why, you know, the same reason that I act is because, you know, you read these scripts and you fall in love with these characters that you play, and you put a part of yourself in that every single time that you do it.
You're amazing.
You know, and it's just a way for us to continue to we are amazing. You know, people like us are what keeps the world going round. I really believe that. And I think that, you know, we are also the ones that probably are the most self-critical people. We are probably the most depressed people for this reason, because we feel everything so deeply. And I think that, you know, I'm just trying to say that I agree with everything that everyone is saying, and I support all of you. And I think that, you know your passion, but know why you're doing it. That's the most important thing.
Francesca's on the one trail. Thanks, Francesca. Thanks for hitting the ones.
Thank you. Yay, I got some ones. I'm in competition with Steve now.
Hey, much love, guys. Much love. I've got a jet in a couple of minutes. I'm starving, and I'm sure we're all busy. Okay, no one's more busy than the other. We're all busy. Let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch in the Facebook group. Please, if you love this energy, if you love this, let's stick together. We're not going to hey, Jack, nice of you to show up. Jack, my good friend from Sydney, legend. You know, like, and let's try and help each other through the lessons that we're learning. Like, Brandon, you're an ambassador right now in this group. You're amazing. And Alana, you're spreading some amazing stuff in this group. And let's just bring more people in this time of COVID to help them and just expand our reach and impact, guys. It's all about reach and impact and helping.
Thank
you. It feels good. Yes. Doesn't it feel good? It feels so good to help.
I feel such amazing energy.
I don't know,
every
mate.
single one of you. I think it's great.
I don't know, mate. I don't know if it feels good. I'm 70.
Oh, come on. What's your name? iPad.
I'm 70.
What's your name?
I am 70. Robyn knows me. I've got an iPad there because I didn't know I'm Judy Stiff.
Hey, Judy. How are you?
Yeah. Hi, Robyn. Hi, everyone. And I
Did you say Judy?
been wanting, yeah, I love it. And right now it's hard being stuck.
Did I spell
miles
your name
away
right?
from Melbourne.
Did I spell your name right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's funny. I was going to change it.
Cool.
Because it's my second married name. He's dead, of course. Sorry, no offense, but that's different. So, but I left it because it makes people laugh, because it is a good name and you must have a sense of humour.
Yes,
so, and you need one right now. We all need it. We
I had a better one.
Sense of humour.
I had a better name. Do you want to hear a better name the other day that made me crack up? It cracked me up so bad. So bad. You ready for this?
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Dick Lamb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
He's a friend of mine.
Barry,
He's
my
a friend of mine.
husband said yeah, well, my husband Barry said they never had a Richard in the line.
Okay,
In
yeah,
any
Richard.
of his
Those of you who don't know
genealogy, he's
colloquialism,
never
yeah.
found Richard.
Yeah, if you don't know the
Yeah,
Australian
he
slang
can never
for
find
Richard,
a Richard
it's
because you
yeah,
can't
that's awesome.
have Dick stiff, can you really? No.
So Judy used to come to my classes, and the one thing is you were always like paranoid about your age, but you just came, and without even knowing, you just showed up. And she would do casting workshops, she would do workshops, and you just went so far from where you started to where, and you were so unsure, but you just showed up and just went. And how far was from your house to my studio?
I live 200 miles away, 500 kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big shout out, Judy.
Yeah.
High
And I
five.
used
High five.
and well, I used to go down, and it was a fair bit to organise because of the distance, and I didn't drive. I did once drive, but usually I do the train, coach, train, and then out to Werribee, and I used to stay the night if the workshops were in the morning, or if they were in the afternoon, I would stay the night down there, and I'm on a pension. So,
wow.
And I wanted to
Dedication.
go, and I loved it. And Robyn's awesome. And it's only because I've done acting a long time, but stage work, amateur, and I really wanted to explore and do. And I thought, how can someone this age get into do it? Because, you know, the older people, the famous ones like Meryl Streep, very beautiful lady, she's been doing it a long time and everyone knows it, but they don't know me. And I thought that's why I was unconfident. And learning the script, sometimes no one's fault, but I'd get it a day before. The day before I was traveling, so I had about maybe one night to cram these 2 pages in. And I remember the first one I did, I went blank. It was so, and I felt so embarrassed. But the other thing was because the script was so close to what had happened to me, my experience about an alcoholic son or gonna be going to that. And my son had died, and he died of liver disease. So it was really close to the bone. And then the next script I did was about from, I think, fried potatoes or tomatoes. And it was Kathy Bates' part. And her daughter, her daughter was being abused. And so they were trying to get a lawyer, or she was a lawyer. Well, I came from a background of abuse and was abused. And so these scripts were close to me, and it was hard to not get so emotionally attached or involved that I was nervous because didn't think I knew the lines enough, and am I going to forget them? And not much on being on film, should I say. So very expressive, and so come across as you know, but it was, and I'm so glad because it was worth every single thing that you sacrifice or have to do to achieve what you want. It's worth so much. All those experiences that I've had, I'm not saying it was great going through it. It's been, Robyn can tell you one of these days, horrible stuff I've had to deal with. However, it can either make you bitter or better, they say. And your strength of character comes out through dealing with the experience and let it do what it needs to do. The work it does through pain and trial is to improve you. So when you're doing those things and all that experience of what's happened to you, and the older you are, the more you go through. Seems like I've always had stuff to deal with and still are. But sorry, thank you. Didn't know how to even hook into this. There you go. So
guys, wow,
I've had trouble.
Judy, that is amazing. Hands up if you love that story. to close off with. Thank you, guys. I got to bounce. I love you so much. Let's
Thank
connect
you.
in the Facebook group.
Thanks,
Judy,
mate.
that was amazing. God
Thank
bless you all.
so much.
Bless your hearts. Keep striving.
You
keep
too.
positive. Let's stay in touch and bounce off each other's energy. Alana, thank you for your
Yes.
contribution. Brandon
Yeah.
Kaplan, thank you for your contribution, brother. Bless your
Yeah.
hearts.
Yeah.
Jack, thank you for your beautiful moustache. It's amazing. Robyn, I'll talk to you after this. You're amazing as well.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much,
Thanks for
guys.
putting
Bless,
this together.
bless you all
You're
for coming.
amazing.
All of you.
Thanks,
Sarita,
Robyn,
Francesca,
and
Caroline,
Robyn.
Anastasia, Brian,
Thanks, Robyn.
Katie,
God bless
Mackenzie,
you.
Diane,
God bless
Angelina.
you.
Sorry if I forgot your name. All right, Lorraine, you're amazing. All of you are amazing. Bless your hearts. Judy as well. See you guys. All the
Thank
best.
you. Bless you.
See you
Bless
later.
you.